Welcome to the When We Cry Book Club podcast, where we will be discussing Umineko's 4th episode. This is the 7th part of our episode discussion. I'm your host, Lorenzo. I did not flub it this time, but I felt like I mumbled, but who the fuck cares at this point? Let's go. Who else is with me?
I'm your sentence to death, and I am eating right now. I'm sure it's noticeable.
Yes, it's pretty noticeable. And this is your friendly neighborhood mushroom. And yeah, hi.
Woo, it's been a while. Oh my goodness.
In your own words, it's been over a while.
It's been over a while, as some may say. But yeah, how's everyone been? What have you been up to? Since you won't tell me until we start recording things.
That is true. I did say that I wasn't going to tell you until we start recording.
Yes, no spoilers in this house.
Okay, does Des want to go first, or do you want me to go
Okay,
first?
here's the thing. Actually, so much time has elapsed that I'm like, you know what? I would have to tell you about so many things. I'm just not going to tell you about none of them.
Damn, all right.
That's opt for the... Actually, you don't get to know anything about me, JK lol.
All information regarding my life for the previous 2 months has been sealed away in the darkness.
Yeah, I think the last time we recorded was the beginning of this... Or not beginning of this month, but it was in March, in beginning of March, right?
Yes.
Probably.
1,000 years ago. Yeah, indeed.
Or maybe not even that. I think the last time we recorded with Lorenzo was even longer than that.
Was it? Oh, maybe. I really just don't be existing a lot.
It's okay. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure one of the last thing I recorded was the ADPR. Well, point of the story is I was really busy with IRL life. I guess in my real life, and I basically told Des, I was like, I need to go take some time off, do shit in real life. I'll come back. Don't tell you when I'm ready to come back.
That's fair.
So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I wasn't able to do more episodes. But I'm really excited to be back. If you did want to listen to another thing I did with ADPR, there's a 4-hour fucking extravaganza of me talking with the ADPR people about their theories during their reading of EP2, the rereading of EP2.
Yeah, go compensate your mushroom last time.
Yeah,
Mushroomless.
it's pretty. It's great. It's mostly me laughing at their theories in a kind way, not mean. But it's great. Their theories are amazing, and you should totally go support them. They're starting their EP5 reading, and it's honestly so true because I am totally sure at a point we were like, oh, maybe we'll be able to finish EP4, and then we can start EP5 at the same time they start their EP5 reading. And I was like, wow, look at us, still trapped on the end of EP4, never gonna fucking finish.
Book club is cursed. I've been saying this since I keep it too.
It's kind of insane. Well, the good news is at least this is good for me in my real life because Dubs, my friend who's reading Umineko, also took a huge long hiatus to read when he's reading Umineko. So now it's actually good for me because he's also literally on the end of Umineko. So at least I wouldn't be accidentally reading EP5 and feeling like, not even feeling like I'm Netflix cheating, but literally getting too hyped about EP5 when other people are still reading EP4. So yeah, it's good.
Nice. It all worked out.
It all works out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I have a little surprise for us all.
Oh, God.
Do you like surprises? I bet you do.
I can't wait. Maybe. It depends on the surprise.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so the surprise is the podcast is ending. Bye.
Oh, man.
Oh, shit. Right when we came back together.
Well, that's not even Is it April Fool's where you are still, or no?
I'm ahead of you, Mushroom.
Oh.
He meant it.
I don't really understand how time works anymore.
I'm always 2 steps ahead.
Oh, I guess we are the one of the last. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Did you just hear that? Did you just hear me saying, I'm always 2 steps ahead twice? Well, that's because Mushroom couldn't find her earphones, so she had to record while the audio was being played in her laptop's columns. So that echo may happen quite a lot throughout the episode. I'm gonna do my best for that not to interfere with the quality of the episode, but yeah, just letting you know so you know what it is when it happens. 1 like equals 1 prayer for Mushroom to find the goddamn...
Understandable. Have a nice day.
Yes, you are at the end of the world. Okay, so the surprise I have is I made a bingo card for the book club.
What?
Yay!
Okay.
Clap, clap. I made a bingo card.
I like how you have to say clap out loud instead of actually just like clapping in front of the microphone.
Yeah, the clapping would like pick the mic, and that would be extra work.
But you clapped anyway, and now
Well, I'm going to clap really hard right now.
I'm trying to record an episode. My butt cheeks are dummy thick, and they keep picking the mic.
I'm glad your dummy thing. Yes, very good.
Okay. So I'm gonna show you the book club bingo right now. Whoever's listening, please look at the screen. And here we go. So we got intro fuck up, which did not happen this time. We got book breakfast that represents every time Mushroom comes in and has read a different book somehow. We got three houses, which we sometimes can't help but mention. That's just the thing we do. It's our funny little quirk in this podcast. Then we have Mushroom insults someone, which is also surprisingly frequent in the book club. Then we have Ambi, because it's always a good time when Ambi is able to show up.
Yeah.
And we have Lorenzo Game Queer, which I'm sure is going to be the most frequently stamped square in this bingo card. Then we have Witch of Truth / Certainty of Lambda, because I've noticed I seem to mention that a lot of times in the book club. Then we have Brother War, which just keeps expanding every time Lorenzo decides to...
That's true. Every single time Lorenzo's on, it's like, have you heard about this other brother I have? And I'm like, how many brothers do you have, my man?
We're like that old lady that lives in a shoe with like a million different kids.
Jesus Christ.
That's you with all your brothers and games.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have another Lorenzo square. It says Maria Slender.
Good. You mean the truth?
Then we have Des and Mushroom fight to the death. And the last square says new slang, for all the slang that Lorenzo teaches us.
That's true. Lorenzo does teach us a lot of slangs.
I should just make up new words. I like how the bingo card isn't even like completely full. Like, what the hell are you supposed to do with like the last 5 spaces?
That's very well noticed, Lorenzo, because that's a great segue for audience interaction. Yes, we are such a great podcast.
Oh
Look at
my
us.
god.
Oh wow, look at us. We're so popular.
So yes, you will be able to participate in the making of this bingo card by commenting below. And
Also,
the best
I was gonna
submission-
say bingo cards supposed to be 5x5 and there should be a free square somewhere? This is
They really should.
Mushroom, that is such a conservative outlook on bingo cards. I swear to God.
You don't even get the free space? You couldn't come up with any more things? Are we that boring to you? Come on.
Lorenzo, I would like to argue that Lorenzo Game Queer is the free space.
yeah, that's pretty
Okay, I
impressive.
guess.
Also, I want to say that the font you chose makes the C and L looks like D, so it looks like book dub bingo.
Well, okay, you make a bingo card next time. I'm trying
I'm
to
so
bring
sorry.
some creativity to this podcast, you know?
Well, at least the mushroom insult somebody is already ticked off.
True.
I mean,
And I did technically beat a game this past week, so...
Yeah, you played no new games?
Yo.
Well, like I said earlier, I'm in my board game era, right?
Yes,
So
you have.
Actually, I didn't even beat it. We lost.
Really? How long was the one you just did then?
Okay, to preface, have you guys ever played the board game Pandemic?
Yes,
Or
I
heard
have.
of it?
I'm playing it right now. What do you
Yeah,
mean?
we're playing it in real life.
IRL gaming.
I've been playing this game, or I played this one game once. It's basically Pandemic, except instead of stopping a disease from spreading, you're stopping white people from invading and colonizing an island
Damn.
as spirits. It's called Spirit Island. We unsuccessfully defended against the colonists, but it was a good time. So technically, we beat the game. It was fun.
Yeah? Did you?
Yeah,
Is the real game friendship?
yeah, I guess. I think I like the board games because I get to hang out with my friends. It's a fun time and also play a game. But I actually haven't been progressing in my video game beating journey, I guess. I mean, I'm still playing SMT5. I'm not done yet, but I'm in my board game era, like I said.
Pass your shoulder, it's fine, Lorenzo, you tried.
Yeah, I know. So technically, depending on what kind of person you are, I technically cleared a game, but maybe not. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Well, what about you, Mushroom?
Yeah, what's going on?
What else have I been doing?
What have you been doing besides being occupied with life?
I was super busy. I edited a bunch of videos for club, just for stuff I had to. Okay, so Des, you're a huge fan of Xenoblade, right?
Hmm?
Okay, so
No, wait. I need you to repeat. I couldn't hear you over the potatoes being crunched in my mouth.
Oh my fucking god. I said, you're a big fan of Xenoblade, right?
No, I just have my profile pic is just a screenshot from the
Yeah, okay.
recent
So you're
trailer
just
of the.
you're an average Xenoblade lover, sure. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
the thing is that I basically had to edit a video for the club I am. And it was supposed to be a Xenoblade Chronicles like video that goes with like music.
Mm.
I'm not gonna explain it more than that, but basically, it's funny because usually, you edit videos of games you already know really well, so you can find the best footage for the game.
Yeah, you could have asked me.
And, well, you're not in my club, and I'm not gonna like basically be like, yes, I'm in this club, but I outsourced my work to like some random guy I know on fucking internet to do my work.
Outsourcing?
So what happened was that basically I originally signed up to do near Gestalt's or near Ripicon's video, which I finished pretty fast. I was able to do it in 3 hours, and I was like, oh, this is pretty good. And then my other friend who was like originally took the video for Xenoblade was like, oh, Xenoblade 2 was like, oh, actually I'm gonna be busy, I can't make these two videos. And it's the pieces we have are Tomorrow with You and Opening, and I was like, okay, how hard could this be? And then how hard it did be was I had to basically watch like 150 cutscenes of Xenoblade 2 while talking to other people who actually played the game to like find the specific cutscenes I wanted. And I was like, this is fucking insanity. So like when people were like, oh, do you know when this scene happens? I was like, oh, you mean cutscene 51 when like blah 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 defends blah 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 and then they fight. And then I was like, oh, and they were like, oh, when this person transforms. And I was like, oh, you mean cutscene 53. So yeah, so in a completely like maddening fashion, I end up learning shitloads of things about Xenoblade Chronicle 2 while actually still not knowing what's happening in the fucking game, even though I watched like a bunch of fucking cutscenes.
That's great. Now you know why Nia is so cool.
Yeah, I kind of like that. Actually, kind of just makes me want to like play the game now after watching all of that.
Nier fan plays the game for the first time. You see that meme?
No.
Oh, okay. I'll scrounge for it, but keep talking.
Besides that, I basically have been just pretty busy with like school and managing club. So I was like, I don't have time to also to do like I was literally like being busy on the weekend, and I was like, what is happening? Why is this happening to me? In pain.
Actually, I said I wasn't gonna say anything about what I've been doing, but I just remembered something. Let me just swallow.
Wow, how's your food going?
Pretty much almost done. So, actually, 10 more seconds. Okay, that only took 5.
All right, good job.
So I was gonna say, I started watching Chunibyo on a whim, which is something that I should have done when I got into anime, because I would have fucking loved it at the time. But, so there's this character there that also ends all their sentences, basically, with death, just like Planner. Except the subtitles actually translated to death, so that made me think, my nickname actually is just Death. How cringe. What the fuck? That's not how it was supposed to be, but I guess I'm called Death, and I never thought about it.
Damn. I mean, she does say die to death. Like, dies to death.
Okay, edgelord.
Yeah, but I mean, Chunibyo is a type of show that you're like, you watch it when it was first airing, and you're like, wow, I don't want to be this, but I guess this is me. I am the Chunibyo.
I would have loved it so much back then. I'll tell you now the funny little story I told you I would tell you about during the episode. So, the other day I was kind of depressed about something.
Aww.
And then, as I was depressed, this is kind of embarrassing, but like, the sad Umineko OST from EP4 started playing in my mind. And that's just, I was just so embarrassed I stopped being depressed.
Imagine being so embarrassed that you stop being depressed. That's actually a superpower.
I just had to reflect on how cringe that was.
Good coping mechanism.
That's so funny. So I guess since we have silently faffed it around for long enough, should we start?
Wait, no, I have one more life update. I'm
Okay.
a proud father of a Tamagotchi now. So,
Oh. What's their name?
Tommy Gucci. It's okay. I've killed all of them like
What?
multiple times at this point. I'm like the worst. I didn't realize there's like this Tamagotchi meta. Like
What?
depending on how well you take care of them, like what they grow up into is dependent on how well you take care of them. And I've been doing such a shitty job.
Wow, you created a monster.
Truly.
Do you have like a physical Tamagotchi, or is it like some kind of emulator?
No, it's the basic one. We were like walking around Target, like my friends.
And you're like, wow, I can't believe they still make them. Let's buy some right now with our human money.
we did because like my friend's dog died and she's like, I need something to take care of. So we're walking around Target as you do. That's like how you hang out with friends, drink boba, walk around Target. And then we saw a Tamagotchi package that was like in a place where it wasn't supposed to be. So it was a sign. So we ended up finding 2 of them. And we both have them, and I've been doing a shit job. The end.
Well, I hope you treat your dog better than you do your Tamagotchi then.
I guess so. I don't know, like the Tamagotchi's needier than a dog, honestly. Like you need to, press its buttons all the time, and I gotta take it to work, and I'm like, oh my god, like
Oh my God.
I'm a grown ass man.
I cannot imagine Lorenzo as a grown adult man working at his crime job and then having to need to take out like his Tamagotchi every 20 minutes so you can fucking pet it and then not for it to grow into a fucking monster.
Well, that's the thing. I'm so busy at work that I just like let it die while I'm at work. I'm just like, oh fuck.
And that is why you only have kids when you have a stable life.
Never gonna happen.
Well, I'm not saying you having kids. I'm saying in general, people having kids.
No, I was talking about the stable life thing. Like, I'm too selfish. I gotta do my own thing.
Lorenzo's like, how could I have a kid when I could just play more Toho games?
Yeah, more games. I could get more Tamagotchis. I could play more video games. I could play more board games. I could play more pinball. I could play. Anyways, we have speaking of children, this podcasting is kind of our child. We should probably give it some attention, right?
That's
True.
a good way to put it. That's very true.
Okay, cool. Let's do the bare minimum, and then let's keep talking about my Tamagotchi. Okay, cool. So, anyways, from where we left off in the previous episode, Battler and Maria are alone in the guest house. Battler's on the phone with Kyrie, and he just heard her final moments before she allegedly got murked. So that's pretty cool. Very great on the brain, as the kids say. Maria asks Battler why he's so, distraught when they've survived the sacrificial ceremony and they'll be able to meet Beatrice and go to the Golden Lands. Like, Maria, what the hell's wrong with you? Like, does that count as Maria slander? Because she just said, yeah, our family died, but at least we get to go to Fairy Tale Land. Woo!
Well,
Messed up crazy bitch.
I guess it's up for interpretation.
Messed
Okay,
up
but-
in the head ass bitch. Okay, anyways. Mark that off your bingo card. So Battler is about to head over to the mansion to beat up whoever's doing this to everybody, and Maria gets a call, so he stops in his tracks. It's kind of weird that they're getting a phone call, right? The only remaining people on the island should be him, her, Goda, Kumasawa, who are, both locked up and have no access to a phone. So he surmises that maybe it's Kinzo who's the one calling her. And he walks back into the guest room. Maria turns her head all the way around like a nasty-ass owl goblin and giggles at him, hands him the phone, and she runs out the guest house to head over to her trial. She says she's not afraid because even if she does get killed or put in any sort of danger, they'll be revived and they'll return to the Golden Land. Woo! Amazing.
Yay!
So Battler picks up the phone and some weird lady screams at him in English from the other side. And he tries to figure out who it is, and it must be Beatrice.
Congratulations, and I'm fine, thank you.
Exactly. It makes absolutely no sense, but, in character, it's great. I mean, maybe if you were Japanese and reading it, you'd be like, oh my god, this is such a poggers moment and absolutely not cringe. But to me, I'm like, this is not poggers. And it actually, in fact, is a little cringe.
To be fair, Beato is drunk.
I guess, but that's the best thing you could come up with. Anyways, I guess that's what no internet does to a motherfucker, you know?
True.
Well, you know, she has to energetically align with Butler's cringe.
Wow, that's so embarrassing. I'm so sorry for them that they have to live in that world. But anyways, on the other side of the line, Beatrice is in fact playing chess and drunk off her ass in front of Kinzo. She pokes fun at the fact that this is actually the first time she and Battler have conversed on the game board, quote unquote. And Battler threatens to come over and kick their asses, but she insists that she'll grant him an audience when Kinzo's out of the way since he's such a curmudgeon. And she then sends Kinzo away to conduct Maria's test while she'll conduct Battler's test in front of the mansion. So Battler's like, I'll be there, bitch. So he's about to head over, but he's like, wait a second. Everybody was talking about how she had like a bunch of accomplices, right? That like killed everyone's asses. So he goes to recruit Goto and Kumasawa from the storehouse so that they die first against this witch's demon horde. But it looks like they're already been hanged on the inside. He like peers through the window. All he can kind of make out is that their corpses are hanging by the necks. And he's like, oh, what? Who did this? The only key to the room or the storehouse was locked inside with them. So like either they did it themselves or some fuckery that he doesn't have time to think about happened. Yeah. So the only ones truly left on the island to him are himself, Maria, Kinzo, and this Beatrice person, whoever she is. So he continues to make his way towards the mansion and sees George's corpse lying out in the pouring rain with a bullet wound in his forehead. First of all, amazing, good, on character. He deserves it. And then Battler gets pissed over the fact that this Beatrice lady is treating this massacre like a game of sorts. So he finally makes it to the mansion. He is expecting a lot more people, like how everyone else were like losing their titties over. And he's surprised to see that there's really only one person standing alone on top of the balcony, and it's the lady from the portrait. That's weird.
No way.
It's Beatrice. What?
Wow.
In real life? What?
Beato exists?
I know, right?
Mario was right.
Exactly. So she like haughtily introduces herself, exclaiming that there's no magical beings or tomfoolery happening to show her presence in front of him. And she's like, you know what that means, Battler? And he says, oh, I don't get it.
It's time for a
Duel!
Truly.
I summon Pot of Greed over and over again.
It lets me draw 2 cards, but instead of talking about Yu-Gi-Oh, she talks about chess, and she has like this whole ass chess allegory nonsense, but does mention that
the layman's Yu-Gi-Oh, and I don't even play Yu-Gi-Oh, my man.
It's not even a card game, but she mentions that they've actually met each other in passing within this game's world, and she's excited over the fact that at this point, he'll have to believe in witches and magic, but Battler won't budge in his beliefs, and this is all bullshit somehow. He tries to, like, go upstairs and, like, give her, you know, a gentleman's handshake, but, aka kicking her ass, bashing her skull in and all that. But the mansion's locked, doors and windows and all, and the only accessible keys were on Goda and Kumasawa's corpses, which he can't get to, so he can't kick her ass, unfortunately. And she mentions how his firing and controlling nature reminds her of young Kinzo back when he made her his furniture. Weird, gross,
yeah.
Kinky, maybe? No, disgusting. Never mind.
Just disgusting.
Abhorrent. Anyways, Beatrice orders Battler to look inside the tiny jewelry box she left out for him. Did I say that right? Jewelry? Jewelry.
I think you did.
Add that to the weird new slang list, because I can't even say it.
I don't really understand. Like, there's a lot of words that I just have a hard time pronouncing. Like, ruler is a word that I think is really hard to pronounce. And World War II.
Ruler?
Ruler's pretty hard. Rural is also very hard to pronounce. And I don't have an excuse. Like, English is the only language I know, so I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing? Anyways. She orders Battler to look inside the tiny jewelry box, and it contains the same letter that George and Jessica received with a minor adjustment. It says, 1, or in order to gain 2, sacrifice 1, either sacrifice his own life, everyone else is on the island, or blank's life. There's like a blank space, baby.
Butler is like, I don't have time for this query quiz. Personality test looking ass.
Yes, and then he'll write her name. Taylor Swift reference, anyone? Anyways, Beatrice explains that the empty space is reserved for the test taker's beloved, and Battler says he'll put Beatrice's name down and he'll sacrifice her in that case. But then she sobers up and then administers his true test. She asks him, Battler Shiramiya, what is the sin that you committed 6 years ago?
And he's like, surprise Pikachu face. What are you even talking about?
Yeah, right? He's like, all he can come up with is his temporary secession from the family after Rudolph remarried. And in the metaverse, Beatrice is hinting that something else is his true sin, and if he can even remember it, she'll forgive him. Interestingly, a red line of text from Battler, I think he's like thinking this in his head, but it's in red text. It shows up and it says that there was no Beatrice in his life 6 years ago. And then more red truths come out that Beatrice gives him. The first of which is that the sin is not an issue between Battler and Beatrice per se. Battler does in fact have a sin. The sin has killed people, and lots of humans on the island die, and nobody escapes.
Yeah.
They die.
They die.
I think I was going to say, another thing I found really interesting is that, like, I think, like, we've been kind of living in Battler's head for a while, but we don't really know that much about him or why he fucking left for 6 years. He kind of like briefly explains it in the very, very beginning of EP1, but like, they don't go in detail. And this is the part where like Battler actually explains like, oh, like my dad remarried Kitty 6 months after my mom died. I don't even like, and he was like, I'm not even that mad at my dad at a certain point, but like he was just more like, if everybody just forgave him, then nobody would defend my mother. And he's like, and that would really suck.
He's like, what the hell?
I think there's a lot of very interesting things that like really shows you like what kind of person Battler is and what like meant what was really important to him and why like leaving for 6 years was very important to him and how important his mother is to him.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I guess I glossed over that, so thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. I mean, I just thought that was like a really interesting point because like it's such a like Battler basically proclaims this to Beatrice, being like, "Hey, you said you wanted me to know my like sin from 6 years ago. Then let me explain to you what like my thought process is." And then Battler basically is like, "So are you happy now? I explained you my reasoning." And then Beatrice is like, "No, that wasn't what I was trying to ask you. Like what the fuck?"
He's like, "Ew, cringe. I don't care about that."
Yeah, like she's just like, "No, like." That's not the point. And then Balor's like, what? I literally just told you my whole ass life story and you didn't even think it was important? Like, and then he's like, atonement? Like, what do you mean? Like, am I atoning for my dad? Like, and then she's like, no.
Yeah. They're not on the same page. They're on a whole different book.
They're definitely not on the same page.
That's really funny, but we will get into those reasons in spoiler sections, so stay tuned.
Yes.
We'll get back to that. Where was I? So yes, Battler lays out his whole heart's bazoosi in front of Beatrice, and she's like, I cannot give less of a shit. Battler breaks down and feels guilty that he doesn't know what possibly could have caused this Rokujima tragedy to happen. And then a conversation between the game board and the metaverse Beatrice occurs, where you see like on Rokujima, there's a Beatrice dressed up in like the school uniform like we saw in episode 2. Sorry, there's a lot of background noise right now. Can you hear that?
Yes, I can hear
Yes.
Dog.
Okay, give me a second.
It's okay. In my background, I don't know if you can hear, but there's a cat that's purring like a motor that's right next to me.
Motorized cat.
Well, that's a little bit more charming than my dog, so but keep going.
Yeah, because all my roommates are out. My roommate's cat is meowing outside my door, and I was like, okay, I'll let you in. And now she's just standing on my lap with her little claws and my knees and like demanding pets. So I'm like, okay, whatever.
Amazing. What a great recording setup.
I
Not
know.
distracting at all.
Oh, totally.
Well, in contrast, I would like to inform you that I have finished having dinner, so no more background noise from me.
Oh, that's great. Your dinner looks really good.
Thanks. My dinner is on screen right now for context, but
I know. Ow, 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 ow. Stop. Oh, the cat is literally just standing on top of me. Cats really know how to show dominance.
Good job, cat. Anyways, there's a lull in the barking, so I think I can keep going. But yes, as I mentioned, there's a conversation between... Oh, my fucking God.
There's a conversation between my dog and me right now happening.
Dougie, shut up. But yes, you see like Metaverse Beatrice and Game Boy Beatrice. They're dressed up differently. The Metaverse Beatrice is dressed up in her iconic Golden Witch's attire. And then the Game Boy Beatrice is dressed up in her school uniform like we saw in episode 2. So they're saying, oh, I guess he can't remember anything. So are you satisfied with the outcome of this game? And then the Game Boy Beatrice gives up and leaves the game, letting Beato take over.
Or something like that, because the scene that actually happens is like the most confusing scene possible, because it's basically like, so I watched Dub's play this part, and Dub's brain literally snapped, because it basically is like they're having a conversation and Balor's like, I don't know what you're talking about, and then Beatrice, the schoolgirl, like programmer socks Beatrice, looks upset and then like has the face.
Wait,
and then
programmer socks?
okay, so I got that.
No,
from,
I know the joke. God.
I got that from the ADP, like the 80% relatable people, because they keep calling the schoolgirl Beatrice programmer socks Beatrice.
Yes, they coined the term.
That's hilarious.
Yes.
I hate them, but
So
on.
So anyway, so basically it's like, so that Beatrice is in the meta world, and she's like, oh, he said he can't remember anything. And then it's like, oh, are your regrets at your end? And it's like, oh, I guess that's the end of my regrets and my game. And she's like, I'm not interested in this game anymore, but I'm going to leave this game to you. And the other Beatrice, the Beatrice with the silk dress, shows up, and she's like, I'll take over the rest of your game. You may rest. And then the other Beatrice, which is the schoolgirl Beatrice, disappears. It's like the weirdest, like it's like two Beatrice talking to each other, and you're like, what the fuck is happening when you're first reading it?
Yes, for real. It's very confusing. But then somehow, like, the schoolgirl programmer socks Beatrice just, like, fucks off and disappears, like, disintegrates before our eyes. And then the Metaverse Beatrice, like, takes over, I guess, her consciousness, because we're back on the Rokinjima, where she's dressed up in her schoolgirl programmer socks uniform, but her demeanor changes. To Battler, it's as if she's a different person, and goes all cold and retreats inside the mansion. And she meets Kinzo in there and says that Maria passed her test, but also explodes into a burst of flames. And then Beatrice is just all pouty and mopey and doesn't want the game to continue at all.
Yeah.
She speaks directly to Battler in the metaverse, and she says she's giving up the game. And Battler says that if she has beef with him, she should just say what it is. But the Red Truth states that the beef isn't between them, and that Beatrice came along as a result of the sin. So obviously the beef is between her and Beatrice somehow.
So yeah, as a first-time reader, you are totally keeping up with what the story is telling you, I'm sure.
You're just like, what the... I mean, if you have beef, just say it, right? But she's not a very good communicator, we'll just say. So Battler's under the impression that Beatrice is giving up means that the game's over and he'll get the happy ending and everybody will get to leave, right? But Beatrice is like, what the fuck are you going on about? If I end the game, it's on pause for all eternity. Ooh.
Oh no.
And then everybody else in the metaverse is like, say what? Lambda and Burn are just like, oh, come on, man, you got it. You got to finish this game, right?
Oh no, you're putting the story on hiatus forever? No.
How could you? But Beatrice tells them that her goal of the game, we'll say, is different from what they think the ending should be, which is very vague, but I guess we won't figure out what that means right now. In that case, I think Beatrice goes on and says, well, we can continue the game if you think you're qualified to, continue it, right? So Battler gains the ability to use the Red Truth to, make his case that the game should continue, like he qualifies as her opponent. So Battler says in red that he is Ushiromiya Battler, and then Beatrice responds that the game was made to fight Ushiromiya Kinzo's grandson, Ushiromiya Battler. And Battler responds that Asumu was his mom, but he cannot say that he was her biological child. So Beato uses the blue truth to switch this on him and disqualify Battler as a true Shiromiya, and therefore cancels the game. There's more blue truth that names aren't exclusive to a person, and many humans may have the same name. And then Beato uses the red truth to further say that Battler is not Asumu's son.
Oh no.
And then Beato uses these red and blue truths to concoct an idea that the true battler died 6 years ago, and the one standing before her is a fake all along. And then the sheer shock from this realization makes Battler's existence also fuck off.
This is like the most overcomplicated two-step verification for your account possible.
Exactly right. A red and a blue verification? What the hell are they on about?
I have to say I'm my grandfather's grandson? What?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's honestly speaking pretty fucking wild because, like, it's easy for, I don't know, us as people who already know what's going on in the story to be kind of dismissive and being like, why didn't Battler just fucking argue that, oh, actually, I'm just Rudolph's son, so, like, that still makes me Kingsol's son, like, you know? But, like...
Well, I was going to say, when I read this, it also, like, threw me in for a loop because I was just like, what? Huh? Is it really an imposter among us?
Boom, boom, boom. But yeah, you gotta think about that. It's like like Butler's world is crumbling up around him. He's like having an identity crisis right now. It's kind of hard to reason.
What I really love about this scene is that, like, you literally just spend a whole scene where a battler is talking about how much his mother means to him and how important his mother is to him when he was growing up, and like how like the whole reason why battler even leaves the family is because he was like, I would rather think of myself as my mother's child than my father's child. Like, you know, after his mother died, he moved to live with his mother's parents, so like his grandparents on his mother's side instead of, you know, like associating with anybody in the Ushiromiya. So like his mom means a lot to him, and for like Beatrice just to be like, haha, JK lol, you're not your mom's child. Actually, everything you decided to do for your mom might have been not, like, you know.
Exactly. And us as readers, we don't even know who this battler guy is at this point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would also like to talk about this other point, which is really funny. This is not even the first time Umineko was like, hey, what if Battler isn't Battler? I don't know if people remember, but the first time this fucking conversation happens is actually in EP2. So it happens at EP2 where Rosa is like arguing with Battler and being like, who are you, a wolf and are you a sheep? And then basically, like, Battler is like, how could you fucking do this, Rosa? Aren't you my, like, aunt? Like, why are you pointing guns at me? Like, you know, blah, blah. Like, how could you doubt me? And then, like, Rosa's like, huh, you say you're a battler, but what if you're actually not battler and you're just a random person that, like, Kirie and, like, Rudolph got to, like, come and steal our inheritance?
Because they hadn't seen him, right?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
She hadn't seen him for, like, so many years.
Cool. Yes. I now remember. Sorry, my brain was like, the wheels are turning in my head. I'm just like, what?
Butler moment.
Yes, exactly.
What is your sin, Lorenzo?
I'm kidding, Battler. My sin? Homosexuality. Next question.
This post was made by Christianity.
So we have just a little bit of note-taking left before we get onto the spoiler section. So after this, after Beatrice like puts a stop on everything, he's like, she disappears or runs away to the Golden Land with Maria. They talk about the mariage sociere and how they should have just kept it between themselves so that neither of them would have gotten hurt. With, you know, in Maria's case, she invited Angie. Angie crushed her heart because Maria's cringe, and Battler because he's Battler.
Whoa, no way, the Hedgehog's Dilemma? This is like in the hit show from the 90s, Evangelion. Oh my god.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
No. But Maria suggests that they should only acknowledge each other, and in that moment they were infinite, and Beato cries in her arms. And with that is our spoiler-free discussion of episode 4. Any other thoughts, feelings?
Yes, I would like to say that hearing Beato cry, just damn. I forgot we got to hear Beato cry. And then I heard it and I was like, damn.
The voice acting for this part is just so good.
I mean, as a first-time reader, I'm like, what's this even about? Is she just a big old crybaby? But now I'm like, oh, it's hurting me right in the feels, I guess. Well, not really. I mean, it depends on how you sympathize with Beato as a character, but that is for spoilers discussion. Yeah, she's cool, I guess. I just think they're neat. Anything else, you guys? You want to talk about non-spoilers?
No.
Okie doke. Well then, with that, we will shift over to our spoiler-filled discussion. If you haven't read past this point, please don't listen unless you want the entirety of the story ruined for you.
Which you don't.
Which is fine, I guess, if you're a
No, it's not
fucking
fine.
sicko, I guess.
You're
But
a sicko.
in that case, see cats do crimes, catch you later. If you want to listen to us ramble about thoughts and theories and endgame spoilers, stick around. All right, cool. Sayo, Beatrice. All right, awesome.
All right.
So if you stuck around long enough to hear that, you fucked. Keep going.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's just, Sayo's just this funny little name of this chocolate company that's still relevant to the story. It's fine.
Oh, exactly. It was actually a chocolate conspiracy that happened on the island. Somebody was like, I need to get Ushirimiya Kinzo's secret recipe. And then one of the guests is the mole, and they tried to, steal Kinzo's recipe, and some of them died because they stole fizzy lifting drinks. You know the deal.
What the fuck are you even talking about at this point?
It's
What?
It's Willy Wonka. It's Willy Wonka and the chocolate
Oh,
factory.
I see.
You stole fizzy lifting drinks? The greatest line in cinematic history?
Sure.
Okay, but what do you want to talk about? Spoiler-wise.
Okay, first of all, before I forget, I just want to say, holy shit, Corey Coleman, you've been going wild on that comment section. My god
Okay,
damn.
Corey.
Did you know that Corey Coleman has been commented for like 2 weeks after the episode came out? It's
Wow.
just like, damn. And it's interesting thoughts.
Get you someone dedicated like
Wait,
that.
which episode?
The last book club episode.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't even read the recent ones. I think I read it like when it came out, and then didn't. Was there more comments that Corey Coleman wrote?
There's like 20 comments just from them. Yeah, but it's really interesting comments. So I just want to say, at a point I stopped replying because I'm just like, this is just so much information, and we are still so kind of far away from the point where we are gonna actually tackle the mystery, which is when Butler investigation moment happens. So when we get there, I will read all your comments, okay? I'm not ignoring them, and I'll probably apply them to whatever theory I come up with, because they are really good comments. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Some were from 2 weeks ago and 3 weeks ago. Jesus.
All right, so spoilers now.
So spoilers. One of the first things I want to mention is actually about the Rosa conversation, since I brought it up. For the longest time, I was kind of miffed about the whole point of why does Rosa say that to Battler, and I think I think maybe this is really obvious to a lot of people, but I think in the end my decision is that the whole point is that I think Rosa was instructed by Sayo to ask that of Battler.
Why? Why would Sayo want Butler to understand he's not Asuma's child on EP2?
It's something to shake Battler up, I guess. That's my idea. I keep thinking about this because I'm like, how does everybody else in the family have a vague idea of if Battler is or is not actually Asuma's child? And I was like, I wonder if it's something that's very that a lot of people in the family or a lot of people in the family had suspicions of. Does Beatrice know that? Did Beatrice of course or not Beatrice, did Sayo in real life knew about it? She must have had her suspicions.
I say she does know, and I'll explain why later.
Okay. So I imagine she did had some suspicions. That's why she would even write it in EP2. I personally think because of the fact that Rosa was a accomplice of the EP2 variety, that I imagine maybe Sayo told her to say things to Battler to be like, hey, you should if you want to shake him up, you should say this or that, or I don't know. It was the type of thing that Rosa just had to ask of Battler and then test his I don't know, response or anything. That was my personal guess, but it is also really interesting because the thing is that scene happens after Rosa kicks all three of them out, the George, Goda, and George, and
George, Goda, and George. Damn.
Oh,
not
that's
George.
True hell.
George, Shannon, and George, Shannon, and Goda, and of course during that time, Sayo decides to kill off herself and the two people that's with her. So like, you know, when Battler shows up, he like picks up her head, and you know, he's like not even like, and Rosa's like panicking because Rosa's not even sure if like Sayo's actually dead, so she's like making sure Battler doesn't like look too closely. But
Mhm.
anyway, but like I think that was my personal thoughts on that specific thing. I just wanted to put that out here. But yes, Des, what were you gonna say
Okay.
about?
Honestly, I don't think I can agree with this because like what Rosa says, you have the screenshot right here. I'll say she says maybe you aren't really Ushiro Miyabatra, but someone who snuck in trying to skillfully steal the wealth of the Hushiromiya family. Can you clearly prove that you are Ushiro Miyabatra right here, right now? But it's like Bator has lived with himself for the past 6 years. He knows he's Ushiro Miyabatra. How is this supposed to shake him? That's my
Well, no,
only.
no, no, because the act. This is the full line. Sorry, I didn't crop the top and bottom. The full line is this.
So anyway, welcome to the EP2 book club, guys.
Wow.
Have you missed it?
Takes me back.
Like, okay, here. This is the beginning of that. Well, that's not even the beginning here.
My point is just that, like the argument is that nobody has seen him for 6 years, but Bator has seen himself for 6 years.
Well, no. But like the argument that they're having is not about are you Shiromiya Battler, or are you Nissan's child?
Ah, okay, I guess. Okay.
Like, so this is the full conversation. She says, I don't want to believe there's a demon who would sell their own parents exists, basically. Rosa's accusing Battler of selling out, like, Rudolph. Like, he's like, why are you doubting me? Like, both of my parents died. Like, how could you possibly doubt me? And then she replies, maybe, maybe you can, because what if in your eyes you don't even consider Rudolph and Kiria as your parents, or they're not even your parents? And then Balor's like, what? Like, he's like, think about what you're saying. Dad is dad, of course, right? I'm not related to Kiria by blood, but she's like a big sister to me. You cannot ignore that. And then basically she says, but like, are you really Rudolph Nissan's child? Like, that's the point, not the you're not presumably a battler. It's like,
I guess, but like if I turned to you and I said, "Yo, Mushroom, are you sure you're your parents' child?" Like maybe you'd be like, "Okay, yeah, I don't have proof that I am, but like what does that matter? Why does that matter?" Like,
well, it
what?
matters in this case. It matters to Rosa because then she originally say
No,
like,
yeah, it matters to Rosa, but your argument is that Sayo asked Rosa to say that to Butler to shake him.
yes, to shake Balor, basically. That's what I meant. Like, as in, like, to cast more doubt on him, and or even being like, or basically like maybe like that was something like. There's a huge chunk of EP2 that's basically just prompts that, like, basically she was told to like say these type of things, or like,
Yeah.
cause a rift. And I thought like this might be one of those things that like Sayo say like, okay, well, I'll say these things in front of Balor and see how he reacts.
Mm-hmm. Well, I respect the idea. I don't agree with it, but
It's okay.
it fits.
Anyway, so that's the first thing I wanted to mention. Another thing I wanted to mention has nothing to do with EP4, but I'm just gonna say it now because, I have nowhere else to put it.
Like the previous one did.
Well, no, at least the previous one at least has some ties to the current conversation, which is Battler being not his parents' child.
Okay,
This
yeah.
one has nothing to do with anything.
Okay, so what's the unrelated topic we're gonna be talking about now?
The unrelated topic I was gonna say is I want to talk about when Rosa was born. And so, as we know, like, Rosa was born really, really late. So,
Mhm.
I think, and Rosa's also pretty close in age to Beatrice the second, but she's slightly younger than Beatrice the second, I think.
Yes.
So, my personal take is that this is just a short thing I'm going to put here, which is I think after Beatrice the first dies, and then, like, had Beatrice the second, and then basically Kingzo was really distraught, so he was like, well, I guess I could try to rekindle a relationship with my fucking wife that I hate. And then maybe we could, like, I don't know, have something with each other. So, like, I don't know, they probably, like, try to, like, do something and had sex and, and then had Rosa. And then he was like, actually, JK, I think, like, I still kind of fucking hate her. Like, it's like the type of thing where, like, you just, like, you just find temporary comfort in your wife, who I guess is your real wife and not your mistress, and then basically lost interest in his wife, and basically, while he was growing Beatrice II in the Quadorian.
Okay, that's fine. I have no intention of defending Kinzo. That's fine.
Well, no, I'm saying that because that makes a lot of sense why there's such a humongous age gap between Rosa and Rudolph.
Yeah, I mean, could be because of Beato's death. Could be because of anything else. Could be because he lost a bet and he was like, now I feel like beating up my wife and having a kid.
Oh, also very true. It's also very true. It could just be that. That's also very, very true in the scenario of Umineko. But yeah, that's that. Besides that, let's talk about things that actually happens in this episode.
Okay, so let me see. What are my thoughts of what actually happens on this episode?
I have one. When you speak of Corridorian, like multiple times Beatrice is like, oh, or when she talks to Kinzo, oh, Battler reminds me when you were young and controlling and you made me your furniture. And I'm like, well, that's kind of weird and gross, but go on. So, like, with that in mind, do you think that's Sayo, like, what do you think's actually happening? Because we know Kinzo's dead. And
I think that's just Beato, like Beato the witch.
Okay, but the witch is technically Sayo as well. So, like, what?
No, okay, like Beato, the legend of the witch that had a relationship with Kinzo and gave him the gold and was on the same wavelength as him. And like,
I mean, no, I disagree. I think that's Sayo talking about her mother and her grandmother.
Okay, right. How they were used by Kinzo.
I mean, that's my realistic reality interpretation of that scene. It's like and not in a it's in a way of like, oh, like you treated her poorly and like, you control and dominated her, and it's like I don't know. I think that's like a very how do I say, sharp scene about how she's like, I think it's very fucked up, the way how it's said.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Yeah, that.
So I think it's a lot about the legacy, like not even the legacy of the fictional Beatrice, but also just like the actual two Beatrices, her mother and her grandmother, who also suffered, or maybe not like the first Beatrice, but definitely the second Beatrice, who suffered a lot of sexual violence by Kinzo's hand.
Right, but then if I'm thinking about the time you guys are talking about the World War II flashback, the actual World War II flashback,
yeah,
where it was actually painting Kinzo in like a flattering light, and it's like, did that really happen, or did he go like, ooh, 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 pretty lady on my island, I'm gonna kill everyone, and then hide her away?
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of people on the internet debate and differs from. That you could read it as, because both of those readings could simultaneously exist, because
Schrodinger's cat? Oh, funny metaphor.
Okay, thank you, Des. I mean, could it be a cat box, you say? But my point is like, the best interpretation of the story is told by Kinzo, which is the man himself. He wouldn't have painted an unflattering picture of himself. And the worst version of the story is told by Claire, who is a stand-in for like a stand-in for Sayo, who fucking despise Kinzo. So they're, in a way, they're both extremely unreliable, I would say, from narrative wise.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. Well, thank you for humoring my question. Kinzo sucks. Disgusting.
Okay, so now in regards to the general VP4, I wanted to say that there's just no locked rooms, nothing in here that would make you be like, oh no, Unreal Witch could have done this. I guess witches exist. I think this is a game where, Beato just gave up. But I think like before Beato gives up in this segment we read, like in the beginning when the family was still coming and Sayo was planning what she would do, I think that's when Sayo kind of gave up and was like, honestly, I'm just gonna give them these quizzes and see if anybody would kill the whole family with me.
She's just like, nah, it's too much work. Let's see. Let's recruit some people. Who's interested?
Yeah, okay. I think this is a good time to say that we recorded a smoking room about Sayo, but then we talked and we were like, I think maybe it would be better to just shove some of the segments from there at the end of this episode. So the topic of the smoking room was just so you would know what our thoughts on many things surrounding Sayo were, so you would understand our takes on this episode. So look forward to the end of the episode where you're gonna get a lot of segments from that and Ruby's smoking room. Anyway, back to this. What I just said may sound kind of weird, but if you listen to those segments after this, you'll understand why saying, yes, Sayo just wanted someone to kill the whole family with them. But hopefully you'll understand why that's not as weird as it sounds without context.
Yeah, I mean, Des and I talked a lot about in that smoking room that I honestly don't even know if I agree 100% or not, in the sense of I don't even agree with what I said myself. I think the thing that's really hard about Umineko is basically you could basically remember like 5 EPs really well and then not remember the last 3 EPs. Like you cannot simultaneously hold knowledge about all 8 of the EPs all at the same time. So currently I am not at my prime of Umineko knowledge of Answer Arc, so I'm actually not the best as like referring to anything happening in EP7. And that says even less about Des, who literally doesn't remember half of the plot points I brought up, which clearly made our journey of explaining all these things really difficult.
Yeah, so that is to say, look forward to in like 2025 when we get to EP7 and we'll actually do a smoking room on Sayo.
Yes, correct. One of the things I wanted to say was that, I think this conversation is really interesting because Battler is throughout the whole conversation where Battler talks about like, oh, like this is my family and like this is how I treated, this is why I thought so much about my mother and this is like the decision that was really important to me. And I think it's important not to basically belittle Balor for his decisions of, making like deciding these things about his mother and, wanting to protect her, like not protect her, but like, wanting to honor his mother, because I think that's basically what Beatrice basically responded to him, but like that's not the correct response. Like she doesn't believe in family in the way that Balor does, like because she doesn't have one. So she was like, oh, I guess you were ready to like not come back because you were worried about your mother who died, like, do you know what I mean? Like there was like a completely uncharitable thought of her to like decide that about him, like,
Yeah, which also, I mean, we also have to factor in that as Sayo was just dealing with a lot at the time. Her judgment was definitely not unclouded.
Well, yeah, of course. Like, I totally agree. Like, like Sayo shouldn't. When my point it was like, it's funny that people of course always say like, aha, like Baka, like Battler, who like ruined, like who basically was the reason why this whole tragedy like started. And I was like, well, yeah, but like Sayo also shouldn't have basically was so harsh on a kid who was 12 and had his mother died and then decided that, my dad is actually a fucking asshole who like slept with other women when my mother was still alive. Like I think that's like a very fascinating thing that like that it truly shows you the difference between two people who had a family and didn't have one. Like
Yeah.
to Battler, like his family is really important to him, and to Sayo, like she didn't have a family, and when she realized who her family were, she realized that these were assholes who like treated her really poorly all her fucking life, and now she's related to all of them. Like
Yeah, and then also she kind of saw Butler as this escape, and then he just did for 6 years, and then she spent 6 years ruminating on the topic, which, when you spend so much time thinking about something bad, you're bound to start building these headcanons about it, even if you don't realize it.
Yeah,
and one bad thing turns into a big bad storm in your head.
Like I said, what no internet does to a motherfucker.
Oh my God,
I mean, I've caught myself making up imaginary like role playing of like different people before. Like, I mean, kind of IRL life lore, but I have a friend who is like currently in the dating scene, and then like we're just talking about what these guys are doing, like, when they're not hanging out, like, oh, he's actually a terrible person, I hate him, he's disgusting, but really we're just being crazy together. So I get it, Sayo. You can make up an imaginary battler. He's a fuck ass. Get out of here.
Friend fiction.
It's pretty interesting because, like, this is all ruminations of a teenager who, like, had lots of angst in their heart and really wanted something good about their life. I don't know. I really disagree with the notion of people being like, Valor's incompetent, which yes, you don't have to fucking tell me that there's a red truth about it. Like, I don't fucking care. Every time I say I don't think Valor's incompetent, people are like, oh, look, but there's a red truth of it. I was like, yes, it's an iconic scene. Like, I know.
Okay. Just so we actually tackle this, what I think the red truth is saying is in this specific thing, which is the game between Butler and Beatrice, the witch that works on the basis of red truths and trying to work around the red truths. In that, Butler was incompetent at the time the red truth was said. But then not only does he become much more emotionally intelligent, but also game board Butler had no idea of figuring this shit out. It's just Meta Butler, who at the time did not completely understand the shenanigans of the red truths battle, so he was incompetent.
Yeah, and like,
right?
And also, okay. Battlers is incompetent. It's written in EP2, which is also written by Sayo. Like, I actually had this whole conversation with somebody else about, like, how does Sayo write Battler? And it's like, Sayo writes Battler as, like, a weird sex crazy man who's like, oh, yes, I will grope my, like 9-year-old cousin. When Battler writes about himself, he just writes himself so much more normaler than Sayo does.
But wait, Sayo wrote EP2, don't you mean... Wait. Oh, you mean No, that's... Sayo only wrote the message bottle.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, what? The message bottles don't have flavor text, right? That's the conclusion we reached.
Well, no. But, like, what I'm trying to say is, like, I consider meta scenes as, like, interpretations of that person who wrote it at that time. Like, so, for example, like... that's a way more confusing topic. We'll have to eventually do that episode. We did promise that we would do that episode about characters
Game
and
Master.
Their how do I say, like, Umineko characters with magic interpretation instead of authorship. So we'll get there, but we can talk about what we think flavor text represents.
Well, I think the meta world is just a position of all the different interpretations of the characters.
Yeah.
So
I mean the most interesting way for you to not the most interesting way, but another charitable way for you to interpret that scene is Battler himself calling himself incompetent because his whole family fucking died and he had like basically almost had a chance to save the other person and then so fucking failed and then also now lost all his memory. If that doesn't consider if he doesn't like and that he considered that as incompetent for himself. That's another interpretation. So, fuck people. Like, you don't have to write gotcha comments in the comment section to be like, your interpretation is wrong. Like, fine, whatever.
Okay. On the topic of Butler being kind of more competent than people give him credit for, about his test and the fact that the second option didn't have her name there. It was for Butler to write the name. Okay, so basically it's kind of easy to interpret that Sayo was like, aha, if you remember the thing you promised Shannon, you're probably... Like, she was just like, I wonder if Butler still feels anything for Shannon, so I'm gonna leave this space here, and if he writes Shannon there, then coolio. But what I was gonna say is... Oh, it's kind of like a bad move on Sayo's part if she wants Butler to write Shannon there, because, like, Butler is speaking with the murderess, so he may be kind of like worried about writing the name of the person who he does care about the most there, because he's like, what if the witch is fickle and she'll like kill the person I'm trying to save,
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really funny parts about that scene. Like, have you ever seen the show Gravity Falls? Anybody in this call have seen it or no?
No.
I've seen clips, but I need to see it from start to finish at some point.
Okay, so there's a part in Gravity Falls where this girl basically is like, give this guy a letter and it just says, would you want to date me? Yes, with an exclamation mark and yes, definitely.
Oh, wait, that's in the first episode.
Yes, that's in the first episode. Like, literally in the first 5 minutes of the show.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I saw that.
And it's funny because when I was reading this with Dubs, my friend Dubs was like, "Oh, I wonder if there's that scene of Umineko in here." And then I was like, "You're on EP2, like you don't even understand how funny that joke is to me right now." And when he got to EP4, he was like, "Holy shit!" Like the way how the thing that like basically like write who your favorite person is like here, like assigned here, is like a really childish thing if you think about it. Like it's kind of like a thing that like elementary school kids would do to each other by like being like like hand a kid a piece of paper and being like sign here, and it's just like, ha, actually I just stole your signature and
Your
now you're
soul.
gonna get married, or like stuff like that. Like it's like a really
Yes.
it's like a really childish thing being like, oh, I didn't sign it, right, and nothing because I don't know who you like, so you should tell me instead. Like it's like it fits really well with the very like how do you do like how the very beginning of Battler and Beatrice's conversation, which I guess was Beatrice or was Sayo's long con for him to remember that this is something that happened 6 years ago when he was in like really young, like in like even like middle school or like or in like yeah like in like that happened in his like middle school and elementary school life. Like I was just like, it's the type of thing that you just have to think about being like, how is this convoluted, but also she like sprinkled so many hints.
And also the whole, oh, this grudge is between you and someone who isn't Beatrice, even though Beatrice is, an extension of Sayo and could easily just say, you don't remember when you said you wanted to take me away from the island? And he's like, no, I think I had like more serious family issues going on
Yeah,
at that
exactly.
time.
That's another thing. Like because Battler is like thinking about all these things about like my dad's infidelity, and he's like I don't even want to like I don't. He's like, I'm not gonna hate on Kirie because Kirie is a free woman. She gets to sleep with whoever she wants. But my dad was the one who welcomed her into his arm while my mom was so fucking alive, and like Angel is not to blame, even though like that she's basically the evidence of my father's infidelity. Like exactly, it's like a very interesting like setup, and like Beatrice just doesn't care. Beatrice is like, well, none of that concerns me because it doesn't matter how like she's basically saying like in this like pain Olympics you lost and I won.
Not the Pain Olympics, no.
But like, do you know what I mean?
Don't
Like
compare.
the suffering Olympics.
Yeah.
You really just put me through the Mickey Dick Smasher, yes.
Yes.
I also think it illustrates pretty well how like detached from normal human interaction Sayo is when she expects Butler. She expects him to remember that what he promised Shannon, but she also expects him to like connect the dots that this murderess is actually Shannon, and also that thing because like maybe Butler does remember what he promised to Shannon, but he just doesn't see how that could possibly correlate with this, so he just doesn't mention it.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's a bad like literally like it's also kind of ridiculous to be like I want this dude that I'm interrogating to have the best mental space. When on the way here, Battler literally saw like two bodies. I'm pretty sure when Battler saw Kumasawa and Goda there, I'm not even sure if they were still alive back then. They could have been already dead, but like in what kind of mental space did Sayo wanted Battler to show up? It's like to be like, JK, I already murdered half of your family. I invited everybody here, and it's like, and now in this most high stress place of all time, you're gonna answer me, who do you have a crush on? Like, what? Like,
Sayo be like, it would be so romantic if me and Butler were energetically aligned on our trauma scale.
It's literally like the most ridiculous thing possible. Like how did she possibly think that she was gonna get like a straight answer or a correct answer out of Battler?
Yeah.
In their defense, like I don't think anybody until that point nobody knew what Battler's family issues were. I mean, all they know is like, oh, He had a fight with his dad.
Oh, okay.
And didn't want to come back.
No, I did make the connection. I did.
Okay.
I did remember.
Cool. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. But
Well,
yeah.
no. Are you saying readers haven't, or like the people in the family?
People in the family.
Oh,
Okay, that's
Yeah.
actually something that I want to disagree with because I have an interesting thing to mention. So let's tie back to the EP2 conversation. So this is my question. Did people in the Ushiromiya family even know about what was the reasoning why Battler left the family? I think the adults must have known because, it's a big deal for your fucking 12-year-old to decide to, like, secede from your family. Like, I don't think Balor was an emancipated minor. He was just, emancipated from the family and, lived with his mother's side. But, like, I think, like, this is something, like, all of the family must have gossiped about a lot. So, I think is actually really out of character for Rosa to be like, oh, I don't even know why you left the family, because Rosa in real life definitely should know. Like, there's
the what she says in that scene doesn't even have to be calculated words. Like, she's in the heat of the moment. Like, what she says, maybe if like she has gossiped about this and that's like the most agreed upon answer, in the heat of the moment she's just like, I don't even know who you are. I don't even know why you leave the family, to be honest.
Yeah, or maybe she thinks of it as like a completely, like, she's like, I don't fucking get it. What's the big deal? Like, that's also could be.
Yeah, your father just cheated on your mother. We're in the 80s, Butler. That's just fucking normal.
Yes, exactly. We're in the 80s, man. That's everything.
My husband cheated on me. Matter of fact, he even dipped. Left me with a child.
Yeah, she's like, my husband cheated on me. You don't see me crying all the time. And she's like, also, did you know how many men I slept with who cheated on their wives this week? 5 of them.
Do you know how many men I cheated on my child with?
Basically, yeah. I think that's a really, like, interesting scene.
Also, like, do you think Sayo would know the extent of, like, Battler's, like, issues? Well, I guess if she's really interested in, like, knowing everything about him, she probably know why he's not there, so...
Okay. Actually, let's talk about what Sayo knows. Because remember me telling you, I would tell you... Actually, don't remember what I said. Anyway, so... I will prove to you now that Sayo knows Butler isn't Asumo's child. Because, as we will discuss when Sakutaro happens, Beato knows what Sayo knows. And Beato is one giving Butler, like leading Butler into deleting himself through identity crisis. So she has to know Butler isn't Asumo's child if she's trying to pull this card on Butler.
True. I mean, I do agree. I think it's more likely that Sayo knew that Battler wasn't the child of Asumu, because I imagine that's gossip that happens. This is my problem. I'm not even sure, like, how much that is possible to know, because, like, that's something that must have been gossiped about, but, like, then it's really impressed that Kirie just never found out.
Maybe, actually, yeah, I don't even know how Sayo would go about knowing about this.
Yeah, like, clearly Rudolph didn't tell anybody, or maybe it was the type of thing where, like, Sayo maybe Sayo heard about people gossiping about it because they were like, oh, like, doesn't Battler-sama looks more like Asumu, like, looks more like Kirie than Asumu, like, that type of stuff.
You know what I think it was? The red hair. and she was like, wait a second, why isn't anybody else seeing this? And then Sayo was like, oh my fucking god, these idiots. So that's my, like, most simplest explanation.
I think she must have had suspicion. That's what I mean.
But, like, suspicion doesn't translate into red truth. Why she has to be certain.
But red truth is the type of thing where you get to say something, even you could think something is true, but you can't say it out loud. Like, for example, like, Beatrice didn't know that there's more Sakutaros, but, like, she still can't say the red truth that, like, that is Sakutaro was, like, in the only one in the world, and is handmade by your mother.
Yeah, exactly. The red truth is above you.
Like, that's what I mean by, like, the red truth is above you, and, you know, even though you don't know if it's 100% true, that you could, if you say it out loud in red, you will be like, oh, if I can't say that in red, then I definitely know it's not true. I don't know, that's a real, we're now just, like, arguing about, like, I don't even know if Beatrice the Beatrice is necessarily Beatrice the Sayo, because, like, in this scenario, you could see this more as the or Toya in the real life getting assaulted by the news of learning that, like,
Ah.
I personally see this more as a I think I mentioned this in the authorship episode where every time when Battler is having a hard time saying, like, he can't even say I am Ushiromiya Battler without, like, stumbling, and, like, you know, in the very beginning it's like, oh, you know, he can't admit that he is Ushiromiya Battler, and then, like, once he was able to say Ushiromiya Battler, he's like getting some memory back and getting some foundation build from, like, you know, in Toya's mind, and then, you know, for Toya to learn that, like, oh, actually, Asumu is not your mother, Kitty is actually your mother, or blah, 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 like, that, like, breaks, like, Toya's brain even more, and I don't know, that reflects on EP. I'm not sure how that's gonna connect with everything, but I think that's a good representation of that as well.
Okay.
These are things that I don't really feel that confident about, but I could just, like, generally point lines at and being like, ah, yes, that kind of represents what's happening to Toya.
Yeah, I like these, like, parallel interpretations of what's going on. Like, it's like a very meta scene in the sense that, yes, I'm gonna deny your identity as a way to cancel the game because there can be no there can be no battle without an opponent. But also, this represents your real self that isn't actually your real self, having doubts whether your not real self is your real self or not. Very cool, Mineko. Okay, my next thought. I actually don't know what I meant by this, but I seem to have, like 2 months ago, I seem to have been confused about why Beatrice threw an umbrella.
What? When did she throw her umbrella?
I know not.
Dramatic effect.
I was hoping you would remember Beato throwing the umbrella.
I know that she's under an umbrella and Balor's not under an umbrella. That's all I remember. I don't know if she throws the umbrella.
Okay.
No, there's a line that says that she throws the umbrella.
So, like, for example, like, it's raining and Beatrice shows up with an umbrella, but Balor is standing in the rain. And then that has some kind of significance, but I don't even understand what the significance is. Because I talk a lot with Dubs about this, and Dubs has something, he has a running theory that rain and storm and that has a really important meaning in Umineko, but he doesn't know yet. But I'm sitting here being like, I'm excited for you to finish Umineko so you can tell me what the fucking rain and storm means, because I also agree that I think there's some significance to it, but, like, I don't have any good theory that, like, basically, like, threads everything together.
I found the line. So this says, the witch threw her umbrella away. She abandoned herself to the falling rain, so that the rain would fall on her until Butler answered that question. She had chosen to let the rain fall on her as well until he reached an answer. For some reason, Butler understood that, and yet he didn't understand what the fuck.
Okay, you know, I should have remembered what I was trying to say with this note during the recording of the episode, but since I didn't, and since I now do, I'm just gonna show this in here. So the point was as simple as Beato or Sayo is just trying to illustrate, just like, aha, see? I'm gonna stay in this rain getting all drenched until you remember me, just like I stayed on this island, suffering until you came back.
So she was like, it was like a symbolism of, like, her leveling the playing field as much as possible. Like, she straight up said, like, there's no magic happening here, and yet I'm before you. Like, this is the first time, like, we've met face to face.
Okay, oh shit, Lorenzo, thank you so much. I literally just solved this. There's no need to keep arguing. I am the holder of the truth. So, in EP2, it is said that, like, when George Goda, and whoever the fuck is with them at the time as well, Genji, I think. No, Genji's in the kitchen throwing knives at butterflies. But whoever is with them, I think it's Shannon. Yes, they run out of the chapel after acquiring the key, and they run to not his room, right? And they are being pursued by the butterflies. But then there's this line of flavor text that says the butterflies just didn't go in the rain, which is like, at the time, we said it was a metaphor for how the culprit can't let their clothes get wet. So, like, Beato in this scene throwing her away her umbrella is like Lorenzo is saying, it's like there is no fantasy here. This is actually Sayo who's there. Like there is no fiction in this scene. I think it's meant to be like to the viewers, to the readers who are not already on the mindset of this is an orthodox mystery, there Nox is here, and whenever Butler is witnessing something, he really is witnessing something. This may be like a hint to the players who haven't reached that conclusion yet, to be like, oh yes, this is a metaphor for how this is actually happening and there's no fantasy here. Because she's on the rain. The fantasy is on the rain. The fantasy does not survive on the rain. So this is real.
That's a really
I think.
cool way to put it because I mean I totally also agree that I think there's some kind of like narratively like symbolism of what rain is on this island, but like that's fucking great because like we talk about the wind and the sun and how the rain is important. So like I imagine all those specific things we can assign to that, but that's a great theory, Dust.
Thanks. Thank you, Lorenzo, for leading me on this way.
I also think has a lot to do with showing vulnerability in that way because I also think at this point, Sayo's probably fucking crying.
To hide the tears, she put herself in the rain.
It's raining on my face.
Oh,
wait,
man.
did you mention the north wind and the sun just now? Or
Yeah, I
was
did. I
that-
mentioned Northwind.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, because it's like a literal like example of it, I guess.
Wait, is it?
But like, I just think it's really fascinating because like Sayo is very like there's just such a like a specific specificities to like how do Yukichi write about the weather that like there is gonna like I feel like once we finish we'll be able to like actually be able to decide on which everything means.
I also, as much as I like to shit on Ryukishi for like having the most long-winded and like pompous ass explanation like metaphors, I think I really liked the chess metaphor and that they had like in this scene because like it was something about how the bishop only can travel on like the black spaces and Battler's been like forced onto a black space and his entire world is now a black space that any piece can like grab at him, but he's like, no, where I'm standing right now is like on the soles of my feet is my white space. I'm not going to like, fall victim to this whole witch hullabaloo.
It's a very cool scene. I mean, I will have to say this scene is so good that it honestly makes me upset that later we're gonna get to the fucking Angie scene. It's the fucking worst scene to read because it just drags on forever.
Yes.
Fair.
Like I think the Angie scene is like fucking boring to read at a point. I'm like, it's like good at a certain point and then it just like insufferable.
It's because it's an action scene, right? It's a Ryukishi.
Yeah, I think I vaguely remember. They just go back and forth like, no, Oni-chan, no, Angie, I remember you now. No,
No,
Furude,
not
Oni-chan,
even
you
that
too."
scene. No. That scene is still more like okay, that scene is fucking long, but still more bearable than the Kasumi scene. The Kasumi scene is like actually crime. That scene is so fucking long that I like was like currently Dubs is stuck on that scene and I literally told him I was like, hey, you should just read that scene by yourself because I do not want to sit through all of that. We're gonna get there and it's just gonna be them being like, no, Kasumi, and Kasumi's like, fuck you, and then Angie's gonna be being beat up, thinking like, oh, you're pathetic, Kasumi, mom, you would have never been able to win over mom or like win against mom or something. It's like the fucking weirdest scene possible. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so my next thought is... okay, so if you've watched our authorship episode, this is gonna make sense to you, which is Beato abandoning the game would be not only a metaphor for Sayo just being fucking done with this, but also Ikuko being done with writing the forgeries after Eva confronted them. Agree, Mushroom?
No, our Toya giving up writing, I say.
Yeah, it could also be either or both.
I mean, because I think Ikuko has way less skin in the game. That's also why my theory is that Ikuko is the one who wrote EP5.
Okay, we'll get to EP5.
Well, because if you think about it, okay, think about this from the narrative perspective of EP5. EP5 is structured in a way that a different person, A, tells a meta story, B, it's about Beatrice basically comatose on a chair,
Yeah.
bounded.
Toya, wink, wink.
Wink, wink. So, like, Beatrice giving up is it's also mirrors Toya giving up writing this whole thing because he's like, you know what, maybe this is all fucked and, like, knowing about my family history is actually the worst thing I can possibly have ever decided to do because clearly it's nothing but trouble and would only bring me pain.
Oh, is that why you say that EP5 has no love? It's because Toya is just out for the game during the writing of that? And it's just Ikuko solo running it?
Yes, that's one of my guesses. Like the one of my guesses is EP5 had no love because EP5 is written mostly by Ikuko.
Okay. Nice.
But also I remember EP5 really fondly, and I actually think EP5 is it's a pretty good take on Natsuki and all that stuff. So like I actually will have to revise my opinions about what I mean specifically. Because they did say EP5 was written with no love. Like that's a statement in the game.
Yes.
But like I don't really know how that reflects EP5 yet. Because I was like, EP5 writes Natsuki so sympathetic.
Yeah.
Because she's the best.
But also it has the character of Erika, so I guess it's the most two extremes.
No, Lorenzo, you think she's the best because she's the only one who we got to see on not the worst 2 days of everyone's lives. I'm sure if we got to see like Eva, she would be pretty cool too.
I mean, we kind of did. I mean, I think Eva is great. Like, I mean, everything you read about Eva in EP3 makes all her murder justified. Maybe not all her murders, but you know what I mean. But yeah, so what else are the points that we want to bring up?
I have a point here that says, I don't remember which scene this is, but it seems there was a scene where Beato talks, but it's in such a different tone that I just wrote, damn, we really heard Sayo talk for the first time, and it was to say she was gonna kill herself.
Is that during the time when she walks into the room and Gap is talking to her and she's like, fuck off, Gap, and then she just like froze her?
Yeah.
I mean, it's something.
I don't think we hear Sayo talk anywhere else in the game.
Not really. I mean, I think the other point when Sayo talks is I see the Silk Trek Beatrice and the Programmer Socks Beatrice. Because I think that just speaks to the two different desires of the two different Beatrices. Is like one of them is like, I'm here as a human Beatrice and I'm here to find love, and the other Beatrice is like, actually we also have the humongous plan of killing everybody on this island because we hate everybody. I think once we get to the part where Battler goes around the island and looks at the corpses, we can talk about exactly when everybody was murdered or in what order, because I personally am sure that both I'm personally sure that Goda and Kumasawa at this point is already been killed. And their bodies are just posed in a way that Battler looks like they have been like hanged.
Yeah, they have to be dead because Battler looks at them.
Yes. Well, but Battler looks at them, but I don't even think at that point Battler was able to, Battler wasn't able to confirm they're dead. He was just able to see them, and we know that because the point when I say that is that we know that because in the tips menu it was never confirmed that they were dead. But the only person that was confirmed dead is George, because on the way going to the outside, Battler literally encounters George's dead body and was like, and that's the only person that was marked dead before he meets with Beatrice.
I guess we can count that as inconclusive because of the trick that Shannon used on the first Twilight of EP1. Because Butler kind of sees Shannon, but most of her is obstructed by Hideyoshi. And that doesn't count as Detective's authority. So,
is there anything else that we want to talk about, or do I?
Yes, I wanted to talk about something you listeners will probably listen to on the sections that we'll copy and paste after the end of this episode. But we talked about how did Sayo actually even plan on killing anybody in Prime, or was that just something that became a metaphor in the Umineko we read, because that's the interpretation that people do be throwing that Ikuko and Toya wrote as the true answer to their forgeries. So at least for EP4, I want to say Sayo did plan and did kill people, because there's the red truth.
Did plan and did kill people, or did plan but didn't kill people?
Did plan and did kill. because of the red truth in EP4 that says because of your sin, people die. And the only way that Butler forgetting about Shannon would lead to people dying would be if Shannon did kill people. Sayo did kill people.
I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, that red truth is also a fucking doozy because if you think about it correctly, then you could say Battler died, but in the end, Eva didn't die. Like, why did she say all die? Like, what does that mean? Like, how is, like, is that
No, she doesn't say all die. She says because of your sin, people die.
No, she says, okay, the exact red truth is this. Ushomiya Battler has a sin. Because of your sin, people die. Due to your sin, a great many of humans on this island die. No one escapes, all die. What does it mean by no one escapes, all die?
Well, it means that in this game board, it was written as a game board where Eva did not escape.
Oh, I guess so.
Just like in EP1 and EP2.
I guess so. I think, like, when I was talking to other people about it, they really want to try to apply this text across. Like, it's like an overall red truth. But, like, I guess it makes sense that it applies to only EP4.
Yeah.
So I also wanted to say, like, they say humans specifically, well, at least in the English translation. So, I mean, if you want to, like, really, like, give it the good Umineko, like, twist and stretch, you could say, like, Ava lost her humanity.
True.
Sort of.
Yes, you could say Eva Beatrice did not get off the island. No, or Ushinomiya Eva did not go off the island. Ushinomiya Evatrice left the island. And then Ballard fucking also died, and it's Toya who left the island. That's also a very good way to do it. I find that very like satisfying.
Right, and every time they do mention humans dying, like in episode 3, it always means like your perception of a person instead of like their actual like living organism.
True. Okay, yes, that's satisfying. I like that.
I love this about Umineko, how you can just come up with the stupidest explanations as long as you can fundament them well.
Confirmation bias, the podcast.
You just have to have a good argument, and then you're like, I'm sold.
Yeah, it's all about convincing whoever's listening to you.
Yeah.
Really cool. Like, who is it that dictates the quality of a theory? It's not you who makes it, it's whoever is accepting it or denying it. So it only makes sense.
I feel like that's basically the whole plot of Umineko is about, like, you can only be acknowledged as a person unless somebody else acknowledges you first.
Wow, it's almost as if it takes two to create a world.
Okay. I think my opinion about Prime is still very confused since I don't remember that much. I remember enough about EP7 and 8 and all that stuff, but, like, I don't know if I feel really confident, but I say Prime Sayu thought about killing people and, was prepared about it and was, like, had her mindset pretty set about it. But, like, I think actually starts killing people was a difference between, like, thinking about it a lot. I also agree that, like, in Prime, she probably didn't even have the opportunity to start killing people before people start killing each other.
She's like, man, you stole my kill. Idiot. Damn.
Kiria the kill stealer.
What a toxic gamer.
Yeah, oh my god, Kiria is totally the toxic gamer.
Get good, scrub. Yeah, I think that's the end of our thoughts. Well, see you in 2 months when the next episode drops.
No more thoughts ever anymore. We're done.
Yeah, Beato left the game board. What are we to do now? No more Umineko.
Yeah, no more Umineko. From how much episodes we have, we might be able to finish this in 3?
3 episodes? Okay, so what's that, like 5 years?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I think we're done here now.
Yeah, please stay tuned for what's coming next.
Thank you so much for listening, Sea Cats Do Crimes. Catch you later.
Alright, so for this next section, every time you hear this sound effect, that just means I cut out from one section to a different section, just so the episode wouldn't be 4 hours long, which it would had I not done that. So I decided to add that sound effect so you understand why there's a loss of continuity between what we were saying previously and what we start saying after the sound effect. Also, this episode was very confusing. We were very lost. We didn't remember half the things. I didn't remember more than half the things. So, there's a reason the episode was scrapped, so please remember that as you listen to what's to come now. Also, there will be a timeline at the end, just like we did for authorship. However, it's most definitely gonna get updated once we get to EP7. So please look forward to that whenever that ends up happening. Because yes, we will make an all-encompassing episode about Sayo once we get to episode 7. This was mostly just so we are all on the same wavelength as we analyze Umineko in the book club. Both us hosting the episodes and you listening to the episodes. Also, we forgot to mention how the murder mystery is also just a way for Butler to reach the conclusion that Shikanon is a thing, because the only way to solve the mystery is through Shikanon. We ended up forgetting to mention that, but I just decided to mention that now, just so you don't think we somehow don't realize that, even though it's such a big pillar of Umineko. So yeah, with that said, enjoy the rest of the episode.
Before we get into this, I think we should first go over Sayo's backstory, so to refresh everyone's minds. However, to go through Sayo's backstory, we are unfortunately gonna have to go through Kinzo's backstory, everyone's favorite character, am I right?
Yeah, woo! He's daddy, woo! No, just kidding.
Yay.
Disgusting. Ugh. Despicable. What the hell's his problem?
His problem was being too horny. So it all started in a happy day during war times in Japan. I mean, we don't have to go through the whole story of Kinzo. Basically, an Italian submarine arrived in Rokkenjima, which was a military base, and it was carrying a shit ton of gold. It was carrying like the whole economy of Italy inside. And then shit happened. People killed themselves. People killed each other. I mean, Kinzo already had a wife, so he imprisons Beato on different mansion in the island. The mansion was still being built.
I mean, in prison is not what I would say it, because, you know, if they were consensually in love, like, he's just keeping a mistress, you know, like, that's not...
Depending on whatever interpretation you want, the fact is there was a different mansion that was built at the same time as the main mansion, and Beato was there. Beato dies, but she had a child, and the child starts resembling her mother. And then Kinzo, in his madness, thinks, oh, this is totally my dead lover incarnate. Yeah, so Kinzo starts doing some uncap shit. So then the first dies, but not before giving birth to the second. Then the second gets pregnant with the third, but then Rosa takes her out of the jail, and then she slips in a rock and dies. But the child, the third, survived, and then Genji is like, oh no.
The third child is given back to Kinzo again, as in, this is your child with the second Beatrice, and then Kinzo gives this child to Natsuhi, and then Natsuhi, because Natsuhi could not conceive a child, even though she's supposed to be the wife of the first son. So she's supposed to be the one who conceives a child first, so that child could be the head of the family. So, but after 6 years of being married, she still hasn't conceived a child. And I think at that point, George is already, like, alive. Yes, George is already alive.
Yes.
So on the day of Natsuhi's holding the child, or with a maid, with a child, she pushes the maid and the child off a cliff. And then that child is presumed dead. And that's how Kinzo thinks Beatrice the Third is dead.
Supposedly the third child dies, except they don't. And that's when Genji conceals them being alive from Kinzo, right?
Yes. Okay, 19 years ago, Beatrice II gave birth to a child. Of course, Beatrice II has no idea how to fucking raise a child because she's a child. So she... of course, Kinzo took the child and gave to Natsuhi. And then, meanwhile, of course, Rosa still lives on this island. And then Rosa's, 13 years old, 14 years old, meets, Beatrice II of just maybe a month or 2 months after she gave birth to a child. Beatrice II talks about how she wants to leave this island. She slips off a cliff, dies. And then everything else happens. Because, as we know, it's 19 years ago, and we also know Sayo's 19, so all of that should happen in the same time frame of a year.
Yes. After Beato the Third's death is concealed, they are taken to the Fukuin house where they grow up, right? They grow up to be a servant.
Genji, Kumasawa, and Nanjo all know this child is actually, Beatrice II's child. And to basically fudge the age, they made Sayo even younger because Sayo was malnourished and also, a product of incest. So she just looks way younger. And the thing is, because they knew this child was technically speaking the one of the heirs, they made her work on the island way earlier so she could be kept closer to the family. That's actually another thing. I think Desta and I argued about this, and later on I went back to read some of the manga and I understood why my confusion was confused. Desta and I were talking about why does Kingzo make the epitaph and even make the portrait. In my basically delirious mind, I told him that the reason why he did that is because he wanted, he suspected Sayo to be a Beatrice the Third. And then Des was like, what? I don't remember that. And then later on we were talking about in what scenario did he make the epitaph? Did he just write the epitaph because he wanted to spite all his children because he knew he was dying, so on and so forth, all that stuff. Later on I realized my confusion comes from, of course, Confession of the Golden Witch, because in Confession of the Golden Witch there's a scene where Shannon serves serves tea to Kingzo, and she accidentally drops a tea and she gets hot tea on her feet and her legs, and then they were like, oh, you need to take your shoes off and clean it off, and Kingzo saw her one of her toe is cut off. He could see she was supposed to have 6 toes and there's a scar there, and that happens supposedly 4 years in 1982. That's the scene
Can I
where
say he's a creep for just looking at their feet?
yes, correct.
Okay, cool.
Of course, Confession really changes a lot of the dynamics and gives you more, adds in a more oh, this might happen, and injected a lot of retconned a lot of things, or maybe injected a lot of truth. But it is very interesting to think about the fact that maybe Kingzo was suspicious of Sayo because it's clear to everybody else in the story and to Sayo, she's way too young to be working at the place, working on Lokinjima. Every time she talks about any of the other servants, Lunon, Manon, and all the CP or Ashne, all these people are at least 16 to high school years. They do this as a part-time job when they go to school, and then they go off to college, and and they do this during college, and then they graduate and then go work in companies, this is a part-time jobby type of thing where people from the orphanage go through. So it's incredibly weird that she's 10 years old and fucking working on this island.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the story is very similar to how EP7 is portrayed. Of course, I will basically be conflating some EP7 knowledge of the VN and knowledge of the manga, since I think the last time I read all of answer arc was in manga form, not in VN form. So, if I decided to add in more things, please call me out for it. But Sayo grows up on the island, sad. She still meets Battler around, she goes, a lot of people tease her. She creates Gap to basically, a bunch of shit about, oh my god, we really shouldn't be doing this episode now, because I am also, all of this is based on EP7 knowledge, which is something that nobody remembers. EP7 goes through this a lot, because at first, Beatrice of the island is 2 different people, because in the beginning, there was no Beatrice of the portrait. So Beatrice was the Madam of the Night, and she gives off more moon ethereal, what's that?
Ethereal.
Thank you. It's moon ethereal vibes, because sun and moon, and she's the master of the night. That's also why I think
Mm-hmm.
that's also why I think Virgilia is designed the way she is, because she's giving off more night vibes, moon vibes.
Yes, her design is very dark.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel that design came from Sayo's scrap design of the original Beatrice. And then I think the original witch of the island is a Japanese witch. So the witch is afraid of
Spiderweb.
spiders and like all these like there's specific things, but then Sayo also incorporated her own fears into the witches mythos. That's why witches are afraid of mirrors.
Ah.
In EP6, you meet two Beatrice, remember? So you have Chick Beatrice, which is supposed to be Beatrice when the first moment she was born. Because in the beginning of EP6, Battler revives Beatrice, but he cannot revive a Beatrice with thousands years of experience. He revives a Beatrice that's a chick. Like she has no memory. She's just Beatrice, and the only thing chick Beatrice has in her heart is love for Battler.
Okay, then let me see if I got this right, and you'll tell me if I did or if I'm wrong in something.
Okay.
So the reason there's two Beatrice that need to merge in order to make the original Beatrice being the one in question arcs, is because one of the Beatrices is like the OG Beatrice, the Japanese witch of the island, and the other Beatrice is all the other shit that Sayo added to the original Beato.
Kinda, yes. So the thing is, actually there's three things that kind of supposed to happen. So the first thing is, Chick Beatrice is basically born out of the love of Battler, like, Chick Beatrice is exactly what Battler wants a woman to look like, also with what Sayo wants herself to look like, and also mixed with the portrait of the island, so that's where that Beatrice comes from.
Okay, actually, I'd like to argue Chick Beato does not reflect the Butler thing, because yes, she does reflect Butler's aesthetic, like ideal aesthetic, but she does not at all reflect Butler's ideal personality.
No, it's just the person she wants to look like. I'm not saying that, because the other Beatrice is the personality.
Yeah.
Before the conversation gets too far away, the whole mirror thing that Mushroom mentioned a minute ago, I wanted to say that I thought that sort of lore was added to Beatrice because Sayo themselves hated their body image and
yes,
their
correct.
whole identity.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, continue.
Yeah.
Just jumping on that.
Well, we'll get farther away. Well, we'll get closer to that later. But the Chick Beatrice is just an image. Like the Chick Beatrice is just a conception. Like it's a look. It's an aesthetic. And the second Beatrice, the Beatrice with programmer socks and short skirt, is the Beatrice who does all the pranks. That Beatrice is actually more comes from Gap than anything.
Yes, because Gap was Sayo's original design for her witch Sona when she's pulling pranks, right?
Yes, correct.
So Gap isn't supposed to be a visual for the island of the witch of the island. It's just supposed to be her fictional form when she's pulling pranks, right?
Well, not only that, but Gap is also supposed to be the witch that pulls pranks on her in the first place. She's like a crass witch who steals your shit and stuff like that. That's the idea what it's supposed to be. And another really important thing is to notice that all of these characters kind of share designs, because that's just how Sayo or how anybody creates OCs, because Beatrice the Elder, the sister Beatrice, has the same type of socks that Gap has.
No way, what?
Oh,
wait,
really?
Do you have a picture?
Never noticed that. I mean, most Umineko characters share shoes and...
No, but
oh, okay, never mind. Her socks are really distinct.
It's the type of thing that it's what she wanted to bring over. That's
damn. Okay, that's a very good observation. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe how such an overt design choice completely swept under the rug.
If you want to include these pictures in the video, the Gap picture that we're looking at, the way the skirt is opened, it looks exactly like Shannon's own costume.
Yeah. Holy shit, Lorenzo.
Crazy.
Yeah. I might be misremembering this because I haven't read EP6 for a long time, because I love EP6, so I'm trying to savor this so I don't read EP6 ahead of everybody else, because if I start reading Answer Arc, it's all over, my dude. But so there's a part where the older Beato the Elder, and Chick Beatrice is supposed to do a thing together, and one of them is scared of spider webs, and then the other one is scared of mirrors. I think like, and then one of them is scared of like the Scorpio charm thing, and the other one isn't. And I think that tells you exactly which one is which and which mythology comes from which part. I just don't exactly remember like which of which. I think Chick Beatrice is the one who's scared of mirrors, but she's not scared of the spider webs or the scorpion charm. The other Beatrice is like comes from more Sayo's heart, and like Beato the Elder is the one who has like all of the mechanics of a Beatrice, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and it even makes sense that she's the elder because she's the witch that came to exist just from myths and legends. And then Chick Beato is the newest Beato because it's the parts that Sayo added to the already existent Beato
Yeah.
to make the Beato we know.
Is Claire a real OC that's Sayo made? And I think it is, but I don't really know how exactly I would insert her, but I feel like Claire is the original drawing of what Sayo thinks a witch of the night looks like. Because Claire is the most ethereal of all of them. So, she's a quiet ghost. She's a ghost that wanders the hallway and read books. So like that's the that's what Claire looks like. And then later on, when Sayo wanted to incorporate Kumasawa into her, I know, like witch mythology, she draws Kumasawa as another like an elder witch who also resembles a knight, to contrast with Beatrice, who's like blonde hair and like the opposite of
Yeah.
Claire's design looks like it's Beato's face, but like a different hairstyle and clothes. Like if you just like overlap the sprites together, it's just like a costume change, basically. But they're different characters technically.
I don't want to say anything about Claire until I reread EP7, because it's just the type of thing where the specificity of Claire is a little bit interesting, and that's just something that I really, really just need to like fucking remember what it is and not to get too caught up in it. But besides of all this, so basically, throughout the years of Sayo living on the island, Sayo imagines a person named Shannon, who's a older servant who is really nice to her, who stands up for her, who is the perfect servant girl, who everybody loves, and is nice to everybody and does her job well, but sometimes could be a little bit or is the perfect servant. And so throughout the whole memory of EP7, she every time Sayo gets into a situation, Shannon comes to help her, or Shannon comes to like teach her things to do, so on and so forth. It's very cute. But then I guess like at a point you would realize that the Shannon that is there is a creation of Sayo's imagination, and Shannon doesn't actually exist. And throughout all those years, you also meet all of the other stakes, like the originals of the like servants, who later on was written to become stakes in Sayo's fantasy stories. The more Sayo grew to become Shannon. So she became Shannon, and like she even imagines that she's roommates with Shannon, even though like she lived in a single person room.
Yeah, it's like when you're okay. I don't know if anybody shares this childhood thing, but Lorenzo, did you used to play Pokemon as a kid?
Kind of, yeah.
Did you also used to just imagine all your Pokemon following you around and doing your daily things with you? That's kind of what Sayo does with Shano.
Yes, yeah, I get it.
I think to this episode we should also like at the end have like a timeline that we're sure we're gonna update once we get to EP7, but we should make a timeline to straightforward what we've been saying. But just to recap this part of the island. So it's Sayo comes up with Gap as an image of the witch who pulls pranks, doesn't kill people, just pulls pranks, because that's her image of the witch, right? At that point, right?
Yes.
And then she goes around pulling pranks, and then eventually she comes up with Shannon, who is the perfect servant to just keep her company and get her through tough times when the other servants who like start pulling pranks on her too and like bullying her. Chick Beato and Beato the Elder are not characters Sayo came up with. They are just the meta world manifestation of the original version of Beato and the things Sayo added to that.
Yes,
Beato.
so Sayo eventually, maybe in 2 years or something, in like 1982-ish, grows, or 1982 or 83-ish, grows into Shannon. So now she is, excuse me.
Goddamn mushroom, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. So now she grows into Shannon, and Shannon is her name. Like, Shannon is the name that she was always going by, like, And Sayo really doesn't like people calling her Yasu, and that's why everybody calls her Yasu, like, throughout the whole time. But she's Shannon, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
That's also why we call her Sayo, because one of the first conversations I had with Sayome when I first joined the server, Sayo says, Sayome saying, like, you should call Sayo by Sayo because, she would never wanted other people to call her Yasu. And, we should, like, in a way, like, that's a part of liking a character, is to respect their wishes, I guess.
Yeah, isn't that what Umineko is all about,
Correct.
actually?
That is. So let's continue. So, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't really matter how Kingzul made the epitaph and painted the portrait. The portrait.
Yeah, that's a story for another time.
Yes. The portrait gets painted, and Shannon meets Beatrice. Like, meets the Beatrice on the wall, and she basically is like, "Oh, okay. I guess this fucking like interferes with all of my headcanons. Time to rethink my
Time to retcon.
time to retcon." I'm also pretty sure at this point she does make a Beatrice. Like, she does makes a Beatrice, but it's closer to Beatrice wavy hair, like the long hair Beatrice, like the Beatrice the Elder, because basically she makes Gap her friend and she becomes a Beatrice, if that makes any sense. First, she makes Gap, which is she's a mischievous witch that steals her shit, and then steals
and
her
she's called
keys.
She's called Beato at that time.
Yeah, she's called Beato at that time. And then later on, she after Kumasawa lends her some like mystery books, and also like teaches her ways to keep her keys by like sewing threads onto them, and she realized she could pull pranks on the other girls that have been mean to her, and at that moment she thinks Beatrice, played by Gap, is possessing her body. And once she became really good at it, she decided that she also became a witch, and then she became a Beatrice, and then she gave the name Gap to the original Beatrice.
Oh, I thought that had happened because the design clashed with the design on the portrait, so she was just like, actually, you're not Beato.
Because that haven't happened yet, because there has to be a Beatrice the Elder before even seeing the portrait in the first place. That's why I think Claire is one of the original Beatrices. I think Beatrice the Elder looks like Claire. That's my guess.
Well, okay. My interpretation was that up until she saw the portrait on the hall, she had Gap's design as Beatrice's design.
That doesn't make any sense, because then she that's not enough timeline. Like, she makes so much more things happen in the middle between that time to now. Like,
what does she make?
She only has 2 years left at that point. Like, she basically creates all of this in.
No, that's not what I'm saying. It's just an aesthetic thing. It's just a texture pack, Mushroom. What I'm saying is, Gap is the Elder Beato, but when she sees the actual what Beato actually looks like when the painting is done, Gap's character up until then, that had been Beato the Elder, gets a new texture, and then Gap becomes a different character with Gap's design that had been Beatrice's design up until then. She retcons her own OCs, is what I'm saying.
Okay. We can't talk about this anymore, because I just went on to Gap's wiki and I read this line and I said, oh, wow, I have no idea when this happens, and then feel like there must be so much holes in things we said. Do you want me to read you the thing I just read?
Okay, what did you just read?
It says, one day Gap took possession of Yasu's body to play a prank, or Sayo's body to play a prank on the servants. Amazed by the beauty and magic, Sayo decided to become a witch as well. They took on the name of Beatrice and the title of the Endless Golden Witch, transferring Beatrice to some of the witch's characteristic, as having her cackling laughs and butterfly minions. And then, Gap will become a new witch, nameless until Beato could think of a new name. Beatrice's friend in the Golden Paradise, or, Golden Land. Gap gains her new name only after Beatrice meets Maria, who gives Gap her current name and her role as a demon.
Okay, I guess that explains what happened then.
So I do think Beatrice the Elder is what Beatrice, she still has a cackling laugh, like, like that's the butterfly motif, but like that's just like a different thing. And I'm pretty sure Maria is the person who introduced the Lesser Solomon to Sayo.
Or maybe it's just as you said that Claire is one of the first things she created. Maybe Claire was the design of the witch Sayo became when she moved Gap to become her own character.
But that doesn't make sense. But like because Claire wouldn't have the cackling laughs.
Maybe she did. It's just that the Claire we meet is the Claire that's been devastated by everything that still is gonna happen.
I don't think so. I think Claire is one of the original Beatrice, like before Gap. Like I think Claire is just created to be the Witches of the Night. I don't know. This is my pain brain. I think Claire's created to be Witches of the Night, and then Gap, and then Beatrice the Elder, and then in 1984, when the portrait is erected, Sayo starts thinking about like the golden witch, like, and like that's also when Sayo comes into a problem, because at that point it's in 1984 and Shannon is already dating George, and then Canon is Canon. Oh my god, we haven't even talked about the creation of Canon. Holy shit.
Yeah, we're still on the summary.
Oh no, because all of this is summary. Like, nothing is summary until like we haven't even gotten to the point that she starts writing bottles yet. Like, So the idea is that I'm pretty sure, I don't remember where she creates canon, but she creates canon in around 1984, like 2 years before the incident, basically. I actually really like this interpretation. This is said by the people on the Golden Truth podcast, the podcast by Umineko.
Yes.
And they mentioned this thing about maybe the reason, like their interpretation of canon is that Sayo wanted to create a egg version of herself.
Mm.
And then I read this other thing on the internet, which is another headcanon of somebody else's, is that they think like Sayo, even though identifies as a woman and, lives as a woman, the only time she feels gender euphoria is when canon gets recognized as who he is, which is a very fairly interesting idea. But it doesn't really matter to any of the conversation we're having right now. But the point is, she creates canon to basically be she creates canon to be all the things that she doesn't want to be.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't, like, all the bad parts about herself, like, that what she thinks of, like, moody, the person who, like, basically badmouth all her employers, like, a person who gets to, like, shit on everybody, who's cold, who doesn't give a fuck, and, like, all that stuff.
Yeah, he's a way to compartmentalize their emotions.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's also the side of her that realizes the things that she doesn't want to realize.
Yes, kinda. The thing about canon is I don't really know. I can't really exactly know if canon was created before she sees the portrait or after. It might not exactly matter, but
I don't think it matters.
So basically, when the portrait shows up, she realizes that she sees the Beatrice, and then and this is already 4 years after Balor's supposed to come to see her. She's like panicking because she's sad, and so because Shannon wants to go forth with her love with George, she birthed Beatrice. She birthed Chick Beatrice, and has the amazing line in EP6 that makes me cry every single time I read it, which is the one that says, "From today now on, you will love Balor for my place. You will have the golden hair he likes, the beautiful blue eyes, and you will have the personality that he desires. And I cannot go on and love him anymore. You will love him in my place." This is what I mean by there's 3 ingredients to make Beato in the end of EP6. There's 3 things. A, you have to have Beatrice the Elder, which is Beatrice with all of the history of Beatrice on the island, like all of the myths and legends.
Mm-hmm.
Sayo's Beatrice, which is the Beatrice that was born from the image of the portrait, her love for Balor, what Balor kind of wants her to look like, And then this is the part you have to remember. Battler could not revive the Beatrice from 1,000 years later. He can only revive the Beatrice as a chick, like as when she was first born. So they also have to give her 1,000 years of memory. That's the third ingredient.
Yeah, which is the 6 years that she's pentagonizing, right?
Correct. So that's why she doesn't have all the other parts of Beatrice, the cunning part of Beatrice. Like neither of Beatrice the Elder or Beatrice, the chick Beatrice, has that yet. Like the cruel heart, like the part, like all that stuff comes in the 6 years or the 1,000 years, the way it's described. So in EP6, the way how she had to do that is chick Beatrice had to go read through all of the past games and read through a lot of bottles to understand how to become that Beatrice. And that's when she merges, like all of that happens and she reads through it with Beatrice the Elder. They merge, and then they merge again with all of the things that they read, and all three of the ingredients makes the perfect package of Beatrice in the end of EP6. Sayo's like, wow, I'm juggling 3 personalities, like, it's like, or like, and, like, Shannon is going steady. Meanwhile, Canon feels like has all these uncontrollable feelings about, like, Jessica, not only because he likes Jessica. I think it's really important because, as we said, like, Jessica likes the things about Sayo that Sayo thought it was completely unlovable. And that makes Canon like Jessica. Jessica accepts him, like, in a way that, like, that Sayo thought nobody else could have accepted her.
Yeah, do you think Canon was born from Sayo not exactly understanding, like, her identity?
Yes.
So she wanted to, like, experiment? Or was he born from feelings of Jessica, and just like she created Chick Beato for Butler, she created Canon for Jessica?
No. I do not believe Canon was born for Jessica. I think Canon was born from Sayo's feeling of dysphoria and not, like, needing to explore herself, and also needing to have a venue to basically throw all her negative emotions. I think Jessica just came to like Canon, which made the Canon personality so much harder for her to abandon.
Okay.
There are parts in EP7 and, of course, in Confession where, like, basically Sayo regards, like, Canon as, like, oh, it's just a fun personality I do, maybe I could just give it up, like, it'll be fun, like, it's like a younger brother character for Shannon, and it's gonna be great. And then the more she does it, the more attached she gets, basically.
Okay, so are we now at the part where Butler has already left the family register?
Battler has left the family register for 6 years now. He's been literally he leaves the family register the same year that he goes onto the island.
Yeah, then during those 6 years, Shannon, starts her thing with George.
Correct.
Canon is conceived, comes in, starts working there as well. The whole thing with Jessica starts developing. Yeah, she keeps getting abused by Natsuhi. And eventually, she solves the epitaph. That's the next event in our timeline, right?
Yes. So she solves the epitaph in 1984-ish, late 1984. Oh, actually, yes. 1984 November, because there's actually a date, because the date is the date Beatrice's birthday. I think Beatrice's birthday is supposed to be, like, a very specific date. It's like November 27th or something, and that's supposed to be... Oh, November 29th, which is the day where she solves the epitaph. So I think, like, the epitaph was, like, erected right before, like, so it took her, like, maybe 4 months to solve the epitaph. She solves it, and then they're like, actually, congratulations, you are Beatrice the Third, and she's like, fuck.
Yeah, she has a whole... Yeah, that's where her descent really starts, right?
Yes.
She's like, oh no, I'm actually the sibling of all of these people I've been serving. Also,
sibling and aunt. She's cousins and aunts for all of these people.
Yeah, I'm related to all of these people. I have feelings.
Yes.
Towards also.
And also, I am the product of incest rape, which is utterly awful. And
also, in between all of my self-image problems. Now I am quite literally the character I have been impersonating for years, and I don't know how to deal with this.
Well, yeah, like it's just basically I'm a monster, and like they made me this way, and
Oh no, I am unironically Beato.
yes, I'm unironically yes. It's like every day I put on the Joker makeup, and one day I go to work and they tell me, "Congratulations, you were Joker this whole time."
True.
I think a lot of people debate about when she starts writing message bottles. Some people say she starts writing message bottles when she hears Balor is coming. I do not agree. I think she starts writing message bottles like now. Like this is when she's like the moment she becomes like the moment she like solves the epitaph, she's like fucking losing it. Like
Yeah, I can agree, but I think the question is wrong. The question isn't when did she start writing message bottles. The question is when did she start writing message bottles that had Butler in it and not NJ.
Yeah, that's
Because like she may even have retconned previous message bottles she had already written.
yeah. I mean, okay, so that's a very yeah. This is something only Confession of the Golden Witch tells you. They say like she hears about it like a few months earlier because it's
Days. A few
Oh.
days. It's like 2 days before.
yeah.
That's what makes it
Oh, few
stupid.
days. Yeah, that's fucking dumb. I hate that. I hate that. I really okay. Yeah, a few days. A few days. Fine, fine. She writes out of all the thousands of message models she writes about Angie, or maybe she fucking writes Battler into her message model anyway because she wants it to be dramatic and shit. Who knows?
Oh, yeah, and because she hopes he will come back on a white horse, right?
Yeah, and she writes it, and so she's like, "I will show you when you come back. I will kill the whole family just to put on a show for you." Maybe that's the mentality. So
Yeah.
So
In 2 years that she had, she probably wrote all sorts of message bottles with all sorts of different rosters, and then when the day came that she found out Butler was coming and Angie was not, she just either took out the ones that already fit the setup or like took the ideas that she probably had fresh on her mind and just wrote new message bottles with all of these ideas that she had already conceived just with different
Yeah.
characters and then threw them to the sea.
yeah, and I just imagine that she basically wrote all of them and then didn't and never threw them out like into the water because she's like it's not ready yet. And then meanwhile, like the whole time she's like planning a murder, she learns about how to shoot with Kingsul, or yes, yeah, right? She learns how to shoot.
I think wait.
That's okay. This is where it gets fucking wild. I'm pretty sure Kingsul teaches her how to shoot gun before knowing that she was Beatrice.
Yeah, but like Kinsey's just
No. So this is what I mean by I think Kingsul was onto her. Like I think Kingsul knew that she might be Leon. That's why I think the epitaph thing is.
No, we are not getting into epitaph right now, Mushroom.
Yeah, bitch. I because okay, why do you think Kingsul would be like, yes, you random servant child, come here, let me teach you how to shoot a fucking gun.
Well, because as we see in Confession, he saw the foot with the missing toe, and he was like,
yeah, that's what I mean.
I think,
That's what
but
I
I don't
mean.
think,
That's what
like
I mean.
maybe he did teach her how to shoot a gun just to be like, haha, there's this low chance that they are actually Leon, so I want to have this moment.
Yeah, that's why he also writes the epitaph, so he could get if he's like, yes, this is how I will give everything to Leon.
Like I can buy him thinking like in this low chance that this is actually Leon, I want the miracle that this supposedly Leon will solve the epitaph, but I don't think he wrote the epitaph for Leon, aka Sayo, to solve it, because there's nothing in the epitaph that gives them a head start over the other siblings.
Yeah. But like, I mean, Genji gives her a head start.
Yeah, okay, like I can, like if you tell me Kinzo told Genji to tell Sayo the hint, I can believe that, but if you tell me the epitaph was designed...
Like, well, yeah, like, I'm just, like, saying, like, did Genji also solve the epitaph? Did Genji just stare at it and he's like, yes, I know where this is going? Like,
no, I don't think so. Kinzo wouldn't do that. If Genji solved the epitaph, Kinzo would let Genji have the gold.
So then how did Genji even know to give that hint to Sayo then?
Because Kinzo told him. Kinzo was like, say this to Sayo, and he did.
Yeah, see, I told you. See, now you are on my side.
No. What I did not agree was that the epitaph was designed to give Kinzo's child an advantage. That's what I didn't agree with, because there's nothing in the epitaph that does that. But if you tell me Kinzo specifically told Genji to help this child that he had a suspicion was his child, that I can agree with.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
So yeah, epitaph writing. Oh yeah. So I also would like to say, the reason why Angie is not in any of the any of the message models is because Beatrice deeply, deeply wishes Angie does not exist.
And if you want to figure out why, go watch her book BP4 episodes.
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah.
Where were we?
Where were we? Okay,
Mental
so
breakdown.
mental breakdown, writing message models. Kingzo croaks anyway, so that happens, and that happens in like 2 years beforehand.
And then suddenly, oh no, I am getting engaged to George. This is so good. I'm finally gonna have a happy ending. But oh no, I have this thought in the back of my mind that, wait, George is definitely not gonna accept me for who I am. Hell, he wants to have a house full of children that I cannot conceive. How is this gonna work? I don't know. Oh no, Butler is coming back. What about my engagement? Holy shit, what is going on?
And then meanwhile, Cannon's like, I want to be a person too. Why can't I go, have love in my life? Like, what is this? Yeah, exactly. And it's bad. So Sile's like, I guess time to plan an elaborate murder. Or not even elaborate. Yasu was going to make everything up to chance. Do we want to talk about Prime? I guess this is a good time to talk about Prime now.
I guess, okay. Let's talk about Prime. Optimus Prime I like his voice.
Optimus Prime. Okay, do everybody want to speak their feelings about Prime? What do you think happens on Prime, Lorenzo?
What is Prime? The actual like incident that happened?
Yes, in 19...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Usually when people refer to Prime, they are talking about the version of the game board that is shown in EP7 by Bern, Leon, and Angie.
Right.
Because of the red truth that gets interrupted, but it can also just mean anything that would be what actually happened in Rock and Gemma.
This is sort of supposed to be like the segue between like the end of Game 4, which is Saya's final like chance to get the point across to Battler, right? So I think what happened on Rokenjima Prime is more or less Saya did get through to Battler. Like Battler like was on the island, realized that Saya was, or like who Shannon truly was, because like
well, that's a charitable reading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so they escape the island, right? And then
because
they get shipwrecked.
You only get to see very brief points of Prime, like Prime. Let's not even say Prime. That is the fucking not say Prime of EP7 Prime. Let's say Prime as the only part we get to see is the boat ride out. Correct?
Well, you don't even know if that's like it's not confirmed that that's Prime.
Yes, or the boat ride out is also a fantastical scene.
Yeah, right.
But it's a fantastical depiction of a probably real scene.
Yeah.
Yes. Like they escape the island together. Eva somehow also survives, obviously. And then there's like a whole diary that she keeps that never ever gets the contents revealed to the reader. And you can only assume that it's like
it depicts everything that happens.
Everything that happens in the secret tea party of episode 7. So I do think that, yes, Rudolph Curie goes on a murdering rampage. Ava retaliates, but ultimately just escapes, and then is like, then like just places her anger on Angie because her parents fucking killed everybody.
Oh, that's interesting. Also not charitable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a charitable and not charitable interpretation of the events of the story. How about you guys? What do you think about the way it played out?
I don't have that strong of an opinion, so Mushroom, you can go.
Okay, this is my strong opinion about this. Ugh, exactly. I believe EP7 happened, like as in like the thing that like, I think Sayo didn't actually, like, maybe they did solve all the epitaph. Like, everybody saw the epitaph. Sayo basically handed everybody, it's like, oh, you can have these guns, you can have the gold. Like, I also, like, I don't really care what you're gonna do. You can kill me, whatever. And then maybe there was a fight that broke out. Maybe there was an argument. I do believe that most of the gun, like, shots in the beginning were misfires. Like, or like completely on accident. Like they were just yelling, but they were holding guns and they accidentally shot people. Like, you know what I mean? Like I think there's a pretty far point, like between like, you know, seeing lots of gold to immediately murder. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not that easy to get away with murder, especially with this much money riding on the line. And then I think like once shots were exchanged and people actually got hurt, that's when it gets real. I think it's basically what Byrne depicted, but maybe less cruel. I think one of the interpretations a lot of people say is that the reason why Kiria says all those fucked up things to Eva right before Kiria dies is that Kiria says like, oh, like, you know, I was a heartless woman, and like Kiria's like, I don't care about my fucking daughter, like I only did that to keep Rudolph around, blah blah blah, like all those really really fucked up things about Angie and really fucked up things about herself and stuff. A lot of people think that conversation is Kiria lying. Like, is that Kiria wants like Eva to hate her so much that she would go back and actually care about Angie. And that's like a really interesting interpretation. Eva was incredibly lucky. Like in every single encounter, she lucked out. Like it wasn't even like it was the biggest miracle that she fucking survived, and it's the worst thing that could have possibly happened to her. I think Sayo intended to test everybody.
To test? So she didn't intend to kill.
I think there's a difference between like gearing up for a murder and to like actually deciding to commit it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
no.
I think Sayo thought about all of this. She'd been fantasizing this for the whole time. But then when it actually came, and then everybody else like, and then like all this stuff happened, she's just like, oh, whatever. Guess it doesn't fucking matter. Like.
So are you saying she intended to do it, but at the last minute she decided not to?
I don't know. I mean, she never got the chance to do it. That's another thing. I want to say in Prime, she never had the chance to commit any of the murders.
Yeah, not in Prime.
Yes.
But where I was going with this is that if she did intend to kill people and she did prepare her stuff and have a plan and execute it, I wanted to explain how she goes from not getting Butler coming back on a white horse to mass murder, and why that would make sense. Not saying that's moral, okay? Don't put me on a watch list.
Well, no. I just mean like, it's understandable that she has all these intentions. I mean, she wrote all of the bottles with like murderous intent.
Yes, but it's more than that. Like she feels like she cannot live if this. It's either all of these people or her. For her to exist, all these people have to go.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yes, basically. I know. I 100% understand that.
Yes, but I want to like explain it and go into it. So
go for it.
If you have differing interpretations, feel free to voice them. I think it's because obviously Sayo is just so webbed. Like this is actually the expression they use in Confession. She's webbed. She webbed herself, others webbed her, in the sense that all of these different things are working against her and keeping her in place. She cannot move on. She cannot change the direction of her life because she has no identity. Who is Sayo? Is Sayo Shannon? No, because Shannon is this very timid servant who is engaged to George and has this dream of having a lot of children. And that's just straight up impossible. And she also fears George will not accept her and everything will turn to shit if she goes down George's route. That's what she thinks at least. So George is a no-go. So who is she? Is she Canon? Also no, because Canon is literally the person she doesn't want to be. So is she? Who is she? Is she Beato? No, because Beato is quite literally a fictional character, even more fictional than Shannon and Canon could ever be.
Even more fictional, yes.
Like, Beato is super fictional, and also, like, her character is being a mass murderer and someone who just wouldn't function in normal human society. So who is Sayo? Is she a person she hasn't been for, like, 6 years? Who is Sayo? She's nobody.
Yeah.
Like, if she goes down the George route, Eva and Hideyoshi are just not gonna allow her to be who she is, even if George accepts her. If she goes down Jessica's route, it's gonna be Kuros and Natsuhi. If she goes down Butler's route, then just it's just like if she goes down Butler's route, she's gonna be.
She doesn't even know how to.
This is kind of hard to articulate.
I mean, it's hard for her to even start imagining what it would be like. I think I think at a certain point, Sayo has gone in her into her own head about exactly what she wants to be. I think this also makes a lot of sense. Like, I know you're trying to explain her murderous intent or something, but I think this actually really explains why she actually jumps off the boat in the very end of the journey she has with Battler on the speedboat. Shannon, Cannon, and Beatrice does not have a future. Like, Sayo does not see a future for herself.
Yeah.
And Sayo is so paralyzed by the conception of leaving the island, the only place she knows, like, tied up with all of these, like, horrible, like, things about her life, is that she does not even know how to move on, so she chooses to not to, and then she doesn't even make the decision. So she the easier way out for her is to kill herself, because she doesn't know where does she even possibly go,
Yeah, it's like she is burdened by the feelings she already had. She's burdened by the future.
She's burdened by the gold. That's why she gets fucking drowned by the gold.
Yeah, I love that metaphor. It's just like it all started with the fucking gold that Kinzo got, and that's what drowns her. But also, I didn't finish my point. I was gonna say, this is kind of hard to articulate, but I think Beato is actually the worst choice for her to go down, because even if Shannon and Canon are not 100% Sayo, there are at least parts of her, whilst Beato is literally just a facade she's putting on to be the perfect woman for Butler.
That's not true. I disagree.
You disagree? Okay, tell me about it.
I actually think Beatrice is the closest to Sayo in the first place. Like, I mean, Beatrice retains her love of all of her own hobbies. Beatrice likes mystery novels. She's mischievous. She has all the points of gap that, like,
mischievous.
Kill me now. It's because of Lorenzo. Fucking shoot him now. Like she's mischievous. She's like she likes mystery novels. These are all like traits that, like, Shannon doesn't have. Shannon is a head empty stupid maid. And like, she's the one that's actually smart. She's the one that actually has all the life in her. Like, I don't necessarily believe that, like, Beatrice is like modeled after Battler's perfect woman. I think it's really weird to think like, oh, she's growing to look like, basically, you always wanted the person to, like, that you like to notice you or grow to be the better person. Like, you don't, like, it's not like she's shaping to be the person that Battler likes. It's like she grows in a way that betters herself. So Battler would like her. Like I know that's a very, like, I don't know, very romantic way or even idealistic way of seeing Beatrice, but I think, like, Beatrice is the one where, like, Sayo feels the most, how do I say, comfortable. Like, she, like Beatrice is also one that has all the sexual freedom that she feels. Like, she, like, I also want to mention this because I want to explain what I mean by this. I was on the podcast with ADPR people yesterday we were talking about sexual violence and how Beatrice uses sexual violence, and it seems that sexual violence was done onto Beatrice, which is true, she is vulgar. She talks a lot about this, but I also think there is some, like, I think there's also some agency that Beatrice is bringing to her own body that both Shannon and Cannon doesn't. If that makes any sense.
But, like, that's also because Beato, like, I agree that Sayo does feel the most confident about herself as Beato.
I'm not saying that, like, Sayo should live as Beatrice for the rest of her life. Because, of course, like, Beatrice comes with, like, shitloads of baggage. Like, I mean, like, the best point, like, of course, like, the best version of Sayo is that if Sayo could have left the island and start creating a new identity and a new life for herself and try to, like, navigate herself, like, basically not being Beatrice, not being Sayo, like, not being Shannon, and not being Cannon. None of these people could move on. Like, it's for her to carve out a new path. Like, but I don't think, like, Beatrice is the worst. They're all equally bad in their own ways.
I mean, I wasn't saying it was the worst. I was just saying it was the most far away from who Sayo actually is. But what you said earlier, you said something earlier. Let me see if I got it right. If I interpreted it right,
Okay.
it's that like Sayo grew into Beato in the sense that at first she was playing a character, but then she actually felt comfortable playing Beato, and she in a way actually did become Beato.
Yes.
Okay, I agree with that then, which also contributes to her identity confusion.
Oh, 100%. Of course. Think about all the conversations that she has with herself in EP2.
Yeah,
She
yeah,
despises she in on her own way. She also fucking hates George, and thinks George would only love has no idea that what love is. So she thinks that George will never love me. George just want to have sex with me or something.
Okay, so we've covered the 3 paths, but there's also a 4th path, which is just not doing anything. Why did Sayo even come up with this elaborate scheme in the first place?
Because it's fun.
No, it's not just because it's fun.
I mean, there was no internet, no outside world. I don't know. I would also imagine doing all this.
No, I don't mean just imagining. I mean like actually getting the resources to execute it if something did happen in Prime. Because even if she ended up not going forward with it, if she at least actually planned it to happen, she would have like to intend for people to die. And if that did happen,
yes, okay, so yeah, so we're gonna charge her on intent for murder. Yes, I understand what you mean.
Yeah, like we need to cover all of these different ways to think of Sayo, because if you think about it, we actually don't know shit about Sayo. All we know about Sayo is different interpretations and different ways her character could have gone down. So, in the path of why can't she not go down the path of not doing anything and just keep living as the servant, as Sayo, which would be not only because everyone is shitty to her in that place. Eva is shitty to her. Natsuhi's shitty to her.
Well,
everyone is.
Yeah,
It's also.
I was gonna say, I was gonna basically back on your thing, which is, I think Sayo cannot choose. That's why Sayo's going down this.
Yes. Exactly, Mushroom.
Because she cannot choose, she wants other people to choose for her.
That too. But how do we tie? How do we tie murder into this?
Because half of these people need to fucking die for any of her futures to happen.
Yeah, because she kind of like, well, if we're going to like explain this with reason, it would be because, well, these people know who she is, so she cannot start from zero. But obviously,
she also wants revenge.
Yeah, that too. Like, I don't think Sayo is exactly sound of mind by this point, especially with the mental storm going on inside her head like in the 2 days prior to the family conference when she found out Butler was coming.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's funny because, like, even if, like, not to say anything, I'm pretty sure the EP5 where Natsuhi gets creepy phone calls, like, that happened a long time ago before, like, not long time ago, but, like, at least that happened a year ago before, like, the 1986. So clearly, like, Sayo's like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking torment you, you bitch. Like,
okay, I can't wait for us to reach EP5 so that I can tell you that's actually Butler, but
oh my god.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. I mean, I also agree it's Battler. I think it's great. I think it's interesting.
Okay.
It's a fun I mean, it is a voice actor for Battler, to do that line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which for the longest time I thought was just a stupid decision because that would have had to be Sayo, but then someone told me, hey, what if it's Butler because of this? And I was like, oh, that's a great explanation. Thank you. But we'll get there. About Sayo, I am choosing what to do with her goddamn life. I also wanted to say that this is the 80s, where knowledge about gender isn't exactly the best, especially in Japan and in a fucking island where she has no contact, like meaningful contact with the outside world and different ideas about anything. So I'm pretty sure Sayo was just like, okay, I don't know what I am. I need to be something. I need to be a girl or a guy. I guess I have to choose. I cannot keep living as this because I am not a person right now. I'm furniture. I'm half a person.
Yeah, I also think it's really interesting that I'm pretty, like, I think I talked about this in the gender episode, Gender 2, where I was like, Sayo's probably like, yes, if I like girls, I must be a guy. If I like boys, I must be a girl.
We also talked about it on the Valentine's episode.
Yes, we did.
And then you have the whole motto of, haha, furniture isn't even a full person. That probably is a real thing that Kinzo implemented into their servants, and that just found its way into Sayo's insecurities, and she somehow got the conclusion that because I am not...
That's actually really funny because, I mean, not every... Okay, this is where people say furniture is queer text, because I don't think furniture is something that everybody calls themselves, because, you know, like, other servants don't think of themselves as furniture. I don't even think,
No,
like...
only the ones that have the golden wing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also the ones that might be interpreted as queer people. Well,
Oh.
I'm just saying.
Well, but I was also gonna say that's just Sayo extrapolated that into her gender. So she was like, I'm not one gender or the other, so I'm not even a full person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's just the conclusion.
10 out of 10.
We forgot to mention how Kumasawa as Vergiria and as Beato, fits into all of this. So obviously, I think we will agree that Kumasawa was just someone who really liked murder mysteries and pranks, and kind of made Sayo also got Sayo into that.
Yeah, also really likes like creepy stories about the island, who also told her a lot about that. Exactly.
Yeah, and because Kumasawa is one to tell her all of these things about Beato and all of that, Sayo saw Kumasawa as like an elder witch, and also maybe as Beato. I think the reason she also sees Kumasawa as Beato is just because Beato is the witch that plays pranks, and Kumasawa is playing pranks and blaming it on the witch, so she must be Beato.
I don't know if that's exactly, but I can see where that's going. I also think it's interesting that one of the notice the Virgilia thing is really interesting, because if you think about Virgilia in EP3, Beatrice says, I haven't seen you for a while, I thought you fucking died or something, or you went to sleep, or even or something. I don't even know if they talked about killing her. I do like to think that in Sayo's headcanon, after Sayo learned that she's Beatrice, she got so mad and was like, what the fuck? Kumasawa was lying to me this whole fucking time. She kills off Virgilia's character.
Oh, that's nice. That's an interesting idea.
Just like I said, I think Sayo, I say Sayo as she, them. Like, I think that's most of the times when I'm referencing Sayo. I think Sayo... I love reading trans discourse about Sayo on Twitter, and it's just really interesting. But yeah, Sayo, she, them, Shannon, she, her, it's like canon, he, him. That's just that.
But why? But why?
I don't know. I think that's exactly how they present themselves. I think the thing is, like, that's what I mean by, like, how Sayo's female presenting. Like, the reason why I say that is, there's another plot point that I was gonna bring up, which is, Frou-Frou and Zepida, when they show up, they're supposed to be, they basically look identical, they look like they're twins, they just color swap, but they are also told to have opposite genders, but you don't know who they are. But the thing is, both Zepida and Frou-Frou are also both, female presenting. And I think that kind of makes me...
I don't think so. I think that's the interpretation. I think they are very much gender ambiguous.
I mean, yes. I mean, female presenting as in, like, they look female. Like, as in not, like...
I don't agree, honestly.
I know. And I also do think, like, I think it's interesting when people say, like, canon is he, him, and, you know, it's the type of thing where it's either an egg stage that she made for herself. It's like, oh, yes, this would be me. That's also why people keep getting trans feelings, like as in, like, canon is the one that gives off trans vibes the most out of, like, everybody, because, you know, he does have all the the dysphoria things that he thinks about. So that's why people think that. That's also why people say, like, egg stage canon trans something. It's funny because, like, I was on ADPR's episode and they just talked about that so much, and I was like, oh, it's really cool. But current...
like, Shannon also shows dysphoria, especially in the fact that she cannot, like, have children.
But she doesn't say that, like, but that conversation never shows up. You don't get to know that until EP 6 or 7. Like, you know, like, Shannon seems to always be very enthusiastic, not enthusiastic, but, like, pretty interested in George. Like, she never talks about, like, you know, we only get to know that she couldn't bear a child, so on and so forth, all of that, when you know who, like, when you read, like Sayo's part. Like, does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
Okay, so is your pronoun...
Like, canon reads as trans even in question arc. but Shannon doesn't. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
So like your pronoun attribution just comes from how the characters have felt to you throughout the story. Because I remember you had I remember you telling me why you said she them, and there was this whole reasoning process which was something like I actually don't remember. Like I was hoping you would remember.
No,
maybe.
I'm sorry. I also wish I remember, but I can't. I think I have to refresh my brain about that. But I think okay, for Sayo, the reason why I say she, them for Sayo is because Sayo is one but all, like, but many. Like, I think, like, Sayo in a modern interpretation could be seen as gender fluid, gender queer, so on and so forth. And, that, like, if they were to, be able to basically see themselves in a way that, like, encompassed all these personalities of her, that then they would go for they, them pronouns. Like, that's what my personal thoughts about Sayo as a person. Why I choose to call them they, them, or she, her.
Okay. Well, the reason I do is simply because it's like whenever we look at her persona, which sonas, it's always female, and yes, that could be because of Beato, but also like just the way the text reads, it kind of feels like she has grown into seeing herself as female, which I don't want to say. Like this sounds kind of weird, but also it's just like she has grown up as a female, and it doesn't seem like the reason canon is male is because she feels like a male. It's kind of just because she's confused about her gender and she wants to experiment.
Yeah, I also agree with that. Like I highly despise everybody who goes on Reddit or in any weird comment section and be like, "Oh, this is why we should use he, him pronouns for the culprit, you silly SJWs." Oh my god, I call out to that fucking post on Reddit. If you know what I'm talking about, you know it. I'm not gonna pull out that post, but fuck you.
Well, I don't, but I have one final question then, if you have time.
Go for it. I'm gonna leave after this.
If Sayo is the man from 19 years ago, then how does the main people involved in this, i.e. Genji, Kumasawa, and Nanjo, how do they go from that into making Sayo a female servant? Like, why don't they just make Sayo a male servant? Like, how does that happen? Because, like, if you think about it, it would be easier to make...
Yeah. No.
Sayo...
Okay. Trigger warning for sex organ damage. So, this is just my attempt. Okay. Why does everybody think the baby from 19 years ago is a boy, and why is Shannon? Lots of people think it's either sex organ damage during the fall, or they had to do some reconstruction, or that they were born intersex, which is also highly possible because of all of the incessory that's happening with like Sayo's birth. So Sayo was born without a male genitalia, nor she was born with a basically female parts, or as in she never develop to have breasts.
Okay, but that's what I mean. Like, my point is just that Sayo would grow up, and if she was introduced as a servant, as a female servant, as she grew up, she would have to start developing female features, which they use like fake boobs and shit, right? That's what Shannon does.
Yeah.
So it would have been much easier to just introduce them as a male servant.
Why would that be easier? She doesn't have a penis.
Because nobody would ever see the penis. Like, they just need...
Well, no, but think about no. What this is what I'm trying to say is that another thing is the child was born I think there's this is the type of scenario where I think this was even mentioned is they wanted to basically misdirect Kingzo because they didn't know what would Kingzo react if they knew this child was still alive or not. So they pretended this child to be female.
Yeah, that's a good explanation. Well, I guess that's it then. If I end up making a timeline, it will be on screen right now, and it will surely be updated once we get to EP7. And this episode, it's I don't feel like it is as solid an exploration as we did with authorship, but I do think it's very important because it is our thoughts on Sayo, and it helps both us and the viewers be on the same mindset analyzing the next segments of book club.
Yeah, I also like to say I don't necessarily really agree with everything I said in here. I imagine once I start reading Answer Arc, I wouldn't that all of this will be very, very different. But yeah.
Yeah, well, hope to see you all on the next episodes of book club, and see ya.
All right, catch you later.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bye.